Blessings of the evening. Uncle Neb, Hotep. Welcome. For those of you who don't know me, who've never seen me before, my name is Shakka-Ahmose. And welcome to ATM, a teachable moment with Shakka-Ahmose. Right now, we're kind of on a ride, as I like to call it. We are addressing some comments that were made by our esteemed brother, Katt Williams, on the Club Shay Shay interview with our other brother, Shannon Sharpe. And the brother made some comments about Kemet. Although he didn't use the term Kemet, he used the term Egypt. And so this ride, or this particular series, of which is part 4, is just adding clarification to what our brother was saying. So I'm going to jump in the chat in a second, as I always do, as customary. I tell most people, this is not like other channels where I just cold surgically cut to the subject matter. It's like someone said to me in a message someone sent me, or it was a comment. They said it's kind of like a fireside chat in World War II. And it is, and it's probably because most of the shows that I enjoy, if I don't appreciate, that's right, Roundtable. Most of the platforms that I enjoy, if I don't enjoy the host or the proprietor of the platform, I don't care what they're talking about. And normally, the only time I expect for a person to get right to the subject matter, like cold surgically, is if I'm watching a how-to video. If I'm watching a how-to video, I don't care about your weekend. I don't care what other back projects you got going on. I really don't care. That's not what I'm there for. I'm there because I need to learn how to do this one particular thing. I need a step-by-step program to do that. That's not what this is. This is not a how-to video. You can learn how to some things while watching my videos. But the primary purpose for my platform and the driving force behind what it is that I do is really to do something very simple. It's something that most people take for granted. Most people are under the impression that they know what has happened in this world, particularly as it pertains to ancient civilization, ancient Egypt, Kemet, Black history, world history. Most people take for granted that those few years that they spent in school, plus the few years that they spent on YouTube, which has probably served more to confuse them than anything else, they're under the impression that they actually know what has happened. So my primary purpose is really to explain what has happened. And there is a driving force behind that I'm going to share with you in a moment. But as I'm still preparing, I realize about myself and the way that I operate. Preparation is never done. I'm always still preparing. And that's because, there's a lot behind what I do. The trick is to make it look easy so that people think, I can do that. Yeah, okay. You might be able to show up with, but the real question, at least from my standpoint, is what are you showing up with? That's what matters, especially if people are coming to learn. You can't come unprepared, and you can't come with, I guess it's a question of standards, right? At the end of the day, that's what really separates people, at least from my perspective. That's what really separates platforms. It's standards. And something I'm going to say at the outset, is, because I read the comments that I get. A lot of comments come to my YouTube page. And, oh, by the way, I'm starting a segment where I'm going to be responding to comments on the platform. Like I have a whole little presentation done and everything. So there's just a lot going on. And yeah, we've got people coming in. So I just want for a few more people to come in before we jump in. But I think the people that make me really laugh, and I have to laugh, are individuals who sometimes comment that I tend to over-explain in the details. And my point of contention is it's the lack of details that has left people in a stupid position. And I use that word stupid a lot. It's rude. It's inconsiderate. Some people would even say immature. And I accept all of those descriptive attributes that they confer upon the word. However, I have experienced enough to know that there are genuinely stupid people out here who had parents that did not care about their education. They had parents who didn't care if they really had a strong grasp of reading comprehension. They had parents who just really, they weren't invested in their education. And so you have many people of all races who have very lazy minds and they get bored very quickly. If nobody's twerking, if nobody's rapping, if nobody's shooting, if nobody's killing, if there's no blood, if there's no something, if there's no drama, right? I mean, watch me long enough. Anyone who watches me long enough would tell you there are dramatic moments because I can be very visceral. So I would just tell people, like, all platforms are not for all people. My platform might not be for you. If my platform is not for you, then rather than message me and tell me that I over-explain things, go to a channel and a platform where they don't explain shit. That's it. Or maybe they'd move a little faster for your genius self. Okay? I do use profanity. I certainly have a street pedigree that, maybe to some degree, to some extent, you never outgrow, or I never outgrow, but I should just speak for myself. It's always just beneath the surface. So might be part of a defense mechanism, I don't know, a protective thing that I'm unaware of or not really conscious of, but I know it's there. So, and it comes out, right? Especially when someone says something inappropriate or stupid in the chat, or they try to distract from what we're talking about with some silliness that we shouldn't even be concerned with. You know what I mean? So the reality is I wanted to make a meme about myself, and the meme would say, I often tell people that I have low tolerance for the bullshit. That's a lie. I shouldn't say that, because the truth is I have no tolerance for the bullshit. And that's just true. So if I look in the chat and you address me with some bullshit, I'm gonna call you out on it and then block you. That's just how so you don't distract anymore, right? So let's see. Presentation is down. Yes, we are ready to go. Let's get it where it needs to be. Let's see how long that's going to take, right? Because I have something interesting to show you before we get started that should really explain to those of you who don't understand why I do what I do the way that I do, the way that I do things. I'm going to show you. Yeah, I kind of code switch in my speech. It goes from vernacular to street, and it's kind of a blend there. So if you go back to part 1, we talk about code switching and language. We talk about a lot of things. The first thing I would tell you, after I tell you to please subscribe, why I'm barely at 20,000 subscribers, I'm not sure, and I don't know. Probably because I don't really promote my channel. I don't really spend a lot of time marketing and promoting. And in fact, most people will tell you that my broadcasting is very inconsistent. But it's been like that for the past few years because I've really been searching and looking to, I guess, find my place. And finally, with the web series that I'm producing and everything that comes with it, I finally found my center again and my grounding. So, and with that comes the reason to show up. I don't show up if I don't have a reason, because I think to do that is to waste my time and it's to waste your time. Some people just show up strictly because, you know, it's whatever. But I show up because there's something that I want to say to you that I think needs to be said to you, that other people haven't said, won't say, or can't say it as effectively as I may be able to get across to you. Okay? So that's why I'm here primarily, right? So it's to have this conversation. But in fact, my lessons are still opening up. This presentation is not that long for this thing to take this long to open up. It drives me crazy every time I do this. I need to open this up a half hour before I even come on. I'm just waiting for my PDF presentation to download fully. And it's like, it just stays buffering. And I'm like, really? Really? Like, it's not necessary. So here we go. Let me see. Come on. Firefox sucks. Okay. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back to Chrome. I can't get on Chrome, which is much friendlier with StreamYard, until I procure and replace my computer with the new one. So, and I'm gonna miss this one because this is like this computer, this iMac desktop that I have. It's like a brain horse that I've used for years. So you know how it is when you've had something for a long time. It's like you're not really in a rush to let it go, but you know, you have to upgrade, and I understand that with time that happens. So that's what's going on. So, all right, let me see here. Okay. One, two, three, four, five. As soon as my presentation fully downloads and I can put it at the part where we're going to start off, I'm going to show you something that you need to see so that you can understand and appreciate why I tend to follow up behind Black people who go on these platforms and speak about ancient Egypt and Kemet. Most of the time, they're not even speaking about Kemet. They think they're speaking about Kemet, but they're actually speaking about ancient Egypt, and they're not the same thing. And so someone like myself has to come along and make things crystal clear. Because if it's not clear, then what's the point? Right? You're just talking to be talking. What's the point of talking if you're not going to make sense? And that's something I don't get and understand. And that's probably because of the community that I was raised in. The community that I was raised in took speaking very seriously. In fact, in Kemet, they had a term for it, right? So most of you know, many of you, I can't say mostly because I don't know what most of you know, but many of you know that the name for the writing of Kemet, the onomastic writing, is called Meduneter. Okay? Meduneter, or Mduneter, which is the correct pronunciation. Mduneter or Meduneter, to Latinize it. Right? So that's make it understandable, I guess, for us. Meduneter. So Meduneter is the name of the writing, but there's a similar name for what they call good speech. And that name is Medunefer, which is very important to them. Medunefer. Mdunfer. Right? Infer, right? Mdunfer. Medunefer. Good speech. Right? In fact, in one of the Sebayets of Tahotep, it says, good speech is as precious as precious stones at the grind mill, at the mill grind, or something like that. I forgot what it is. But it extols the virtue of good speech. Okay? So if you look at the last installment of this presentation, we looked at the Carians, the Caria. We looked at the measurement, and this is really important because everything is about measurement. We looked at the measurement of the name Egypt as far as the timeline goes. When was this name introduced to the country? What name was used before it? Why is that important? Because most people don't realize that even down through the Greek period, the term Kemi, which had replaced the T on the end of Kemet, was still being used. And we showed that when we showed the tax status, when I showed you the tax status of people born in Kemet at that time, referred to as Greeks born in Kemet, when mes em Kemi. I showed that, I documented that for you. So, oh gosh, I finally made it. I think that the most important thing to do, when we're doing this, is to make necessary distinctions. That's what the true study of history is. And that's how I can tell when certain people who send me certain messages like, oh, you're over-explaining things, I can tell they're not serious readers. Because when you read the upper echelon stuff, the best stuff, the real academic stuff, you haven't seen over-explaining. They over-explain until it's painful. Why? Because there's so many little crevices between the details that have to be brought up in arguments in order for arguments to be made sound and foolproof, that you can't skip details. Because the skip of one necessary detail and the neglect of one necessary distinction can throw your whole argument off. You'll start out heading in this direction and end up in a completely opposite direction. Then what was the point of starting at all? So this is what it is. Okay. So we're going to get ready to present in a second. Okay. Just want to take care of some I don't know why they call it house cleaning business. They always say that. I'm going to take care of some hedge, right? But those of you who've been watching me long enough should know what hedge is by now. Okay. Oh, I put it in the wrong chat. Oh, I can put that here. That's fine. Here we go. Bang. Boom. There we go. Okay. Quite often, a lot of people want to show their gratitude, and I don't want them sending in super chats. So I always make sure that my Cash App link is at the top of the YouTube chat, just in case, you're just moved by something that I share with you, or you feel like I haven't wasted your time and you just want to say thank you and you want to support the things that I have going on, which are quite a few things, which I will make sure to let you know of each presentation and episode. Because you always have to remember, there's always somebody watching me for the first time, and it might be my first chance to make that person aware of the things that I'm working on, the things that are going on, that they themselves might be interested in and want to contribute to and support. So if I show you something, like if I share with you the trailer from my new theatrical film short, The Last Night of Asar, if I share the trailer when I share the trailer for the upcoming web series that I'm producing, Kemetville, that's the t-shirt right behind me. Make sure you go to Shakka-Ahmose.com to get yours. Here we go. Right. Make sure you go to Shakka-Ahmose.com to get yours. Right. if you're not sure what that looks like, Shakka-Ahmose.com, there it is. Just go to www.Shakka-Ahmose.com. That's SHAKKA-AHMOSEDCOM. Shaka, www.Shakka-Ahmose.com. Make sure you go to the website. You can get your Kemetville t-shirt. You can also get your Kemet Black t-shirt that has the whole family of King Tutankhamun and his immediate family members, Queen Tai, Akhenaten, his sister Merit Aten, his wife Anke and Samen. All of that is on the t-shirt. People always get compliments, right? So here we go. That always trips me out. Okay. Let's see here. So, okay. So let's say hello to some people here. Here we go. All right. Hey, RPM, peace to you, brother. Appreciate you very much so. Ashley, welcome. Appreciate you. Intro. Hey, wonderful. Peace to you, Hotep. Absolutely. Blessings of the evening to you, sis. Okay. All right. Consistency is key. Well, how am I doing so far? Right? How am I doing? Oh, and lest I forget, are you ready? 3, 2, 1. A teachable moment with Shakka-Ahmose. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Okay. And every time one of the sponsors of this platform pops in, if they pop in the chat, I'm going to play that intro. That's in honor of them. Okay. These are people who really make it possible for me to do what I do and to do everything that people see me doing. They really make it possible. So when they show up, they get that love, you know. That's in celebration and honor of them. So here we go. Here we go. What are we looking at? Okay. So let's see. You know, sometimes I just like to play a random video because it just moves me. It really does.
Hey guys, so I've been running my Egyptian jewelry brand for about 3 years now, and if you've been following me on TikTok, you know that every time a TikTok goes viral where I mention that I'm Egyptian, I get a lot of hate. And it's I don't know, I'm laughing, it's not funny, it's serious. Yeah, I get a lot of hate, and it is from Egyptians telling me that I'm not Egyptian, which is fun. It's what everyone wants to hear. In the beginning, I used to get really upset. I didn't even know that we had a slur for black people in Egypt before I started TikTok. Like, I lived such a naive life. I remember the first time somebody used the slur on me, I literally went to my mom and I thought they were calling me like zesty, like exotic. And I went to her and I was like, what does this mean? And she was like, oh. I was like, oh. The reason I do reply to these videos now is not to say I'm upset, and it's not out of anger or like being hurt or anything like that. It's more so that we can keep this conversation in the spotlight to show people that, yeah, racism is bad in Egypt. Like, it's really bad, like it's awful. So this is the thing, the racism I get is from Egyptians back home, not in the diaspora, but the Egyptians back home are well aware that black Egyptians exist. They know about Nubians, they know about Aswan, like they know that darker skinned Egyptians are around, more so than Egyptians in the diaspora. But the thing is, we are not represented. They're used to seeing white Egyptians represent them, even on TikTok, and I have not seen Egyptians that look like me with a platform on TikTok. So when they see a dark-skinned Egyptian being successful and claiming to be Egyptian, no way. The audacity of this girl to try and claim that she's Egyptian, because we don't let people like you succeed. One time, somebody tried to apologize for the racism I experienced in Egypt by saying, I mean, don't be upset about the racism. It's just because they don't expect Nubians to do well. Like, are we sure that's how we would apologize? So I'm just hoping by me continually bringing these videos to the spotlight, maybe other people can start talking about racism too that it is in Egypt, because I know that every single Egyptian is aware of the racism in Egypt. Not one Egyptian can come and tell me that there isn't racism in Egypt and it's not a huge problem. because they would be lying. For Ramadan. But yeah, so I'm going to keep making these videos just to make sure that this conversation doesn't stop and that it is something that we can work towards solving.
It caught me. Okay? You heard her. I played that for a reason. Because that sister is Egyptian. She's Nubian. Aswan, the South.
I'm here, black.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I'm from Egypt. I'm an Egyptian.
Okay.
I'm from Aswan. So an all Egyptian Aswan, like black color.
Now you heard her. She said the reason that they are the way they are, the racism in Egypt, she said that they say it's not racism, they just don't expect Nubians to succeed. Do you know why they don't expect Nubians to succeed? I'm going to tell you why. For the same reason that whites in America, not all whites, but many whites in America, don't expect black people to succeed on their own merit. Perfect example. If you're a black person at Harvard Law School or Harvard Medical School, if you're just in Harvard, period, the three white students sitting across from you at some point is going to bring up the fact that the only reason you're there is because of affirmative action. God forbid that you would have been intelligent enough on your own to get there. But there's a reason why those white students in Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and wherever else, there is a reason that they feel comfortable taking that position. And it's that very reason that makes me feel compelled to tighten up the conversations that black people in general have across these myriad of platforms, across social media, about Kemet, ancient Egypt. Here's why. While for the rest of us, it may be casual conversation or just interesting discourse or some insight that's shared from which we can glean a few pearls which we otherwise wouldn't be able to acquire on our own. What you have to understand, this is what black people always fail to understand. You fail to understand that you are always incessantly under a microscope known as white gaze. Now, if you don't know what white gaze is, look it up. If you're a white person and you don't know what white gaze is, look it up. Don't think that all white people know everything that all other white people are doing as far as their politics or how they view the world, because they don't. Some white people are just existing, right? Just like all black people don't know what's completely going on throughout the black community or how all other black people get down, right? So I'm saying this because that statement of you don't belong here in Harvard, you're only here because of affirmative action, which the Supreme Court recently struck down, except for the military. You're good enough to go die because of the color of your skin, but you're not good enough to attend this prestigious institution, this bastion of whiteness, these hollow halls of white academia. You're not good enough to attend that, predicated on a deficit that your community was exposed to systemically by their community. It kind of boggles the mind when you think about it. The role that Harvard itself played in slavery, the mere fact that any white person in that institution could open their mouth to say anything. What a black person should say, when a white person at Harvard says the only reason that you're here is because of affirmative action, you should say the only reason that you're here is because of our labor. See, no one's ever said that. I should have had my applause button for that one. I got to make one. Because that should have been a boom. But that's true. Here you go. Boom. I just did it for you. That's what you should say. The only reason you're here, Biff and Greg, whatever their names are, right? Jonathan. The only reason you're here is because of our labor, right? You're here because of stolen labor. Okay? So if you can be here based on stolen labor, then I can be here based on the deficit that accrued from that stolen labor. Has nothing to do with, here's the thing, it has nothing to do with intelligence, yet at the same time, it has everything to do with intelligence. Why? Because let me share with you, one of the things I learned through studying over the years is that white people have preoccupations and beliefs that black people know very little about. And I noticed that. I really do notice that. It's like black people are oblivious and they're in their own world. So when we come to the table and there's a discussion and there's a discourse, we're coming at a completely, from my opinion, we're coming at a completely wrong angle. I was watching an interview today that I'd never seen before. It was with the black writer Toni Morrison, our great, I think she's a Nobel Prize laureate, actually. The bluest eye, Toni Morrison. She was being interviewed by this white Australian woman. And during that interview, it was fascinating. It was like, I thought Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, may she live forever. I thought her venom was, when I saw Toni Morrison in this interview, I was really shocked at her focus and her venom, her controlled, weaponized thinking, so that there was nothing that could come out of that white reporter's mouth that the white reporter could escape after saying it, as regards the way Toni Morrison addressed it and exposed the white reporter's statement for what she was really saying, for what the white reporter really wanted to say, or what she was in fact saying. And Toni Morrison just pulled it out the air and pulled it front and center for that white female reporter to be confronted with her own cognitive biases and cultural biases. It was fast. It was masterful. It was a masterful interview. I saved it on my Facebook page for further reference. But why do I bring that up? Because there was something that Toni Morrison said in that interview, and it's something that I always knew, but it's not something that you can easily explain to the average black person. You can't. And in fact, you can't even explain it to the average white person. And I find something very interesting. The very things that you can't really explain to the average black person, you really can't even explain to the average white person, which tells me that black people and white people, particularly in America, have a lot more in common maybe than we're prepared to admit. I think that we often hide behind stereotypes and mythologies, and we weaponize them and use them to differentiate ourselves. But if I'm talking to a person on this side of the chessboard and they're stupid, and then I'll talk to a person on this side of the chessboard and they're just as stupid, it tells me, y'all are not as different. Y'all might get different outcomes based on your stupidity. Like one of the things I've learned about all of this is that part of white privilege is not having to be correct. You don't have to be correct. You don't have to be historically literate when you're white. When you're white, just your beliefs make you right in white culture. Just the fact that you believe it, and maybe 10 or 20 of your closest white friends believe it, you automatically think this is fact. It's got to be, right? Your school teacher certainly didn't speak contrary to what you believe, right? The television and the movies definitely did not speak contrary, but it's deeper than television, movies, and your local community. And this is what Toni Morrison said. I'm gonna repeat what she said, and I want you to listen and pay close attention. That's why I just brought up that whole dichotomy between black and white being stupid, because she said something that I don't think either side understands. I've always understood it because I study. And the more you study, the longer you study, the more apparent it becomes to you the truth of what Toni Morrison said. This is what she said. And you had to see the look on her face when she said it. Toni Morrison said, racism is a scholarly affair. And then she let the quiet just exude the room. She wanted the weight and the gravity of that statement to be understood, because she understood who she was talking to. So you can't confuse every conversation you have and think that the conversation you're having with this person, the same conversation you're having with this person, and that this person can understand what you're saying. No, it don't work like that. That's why what I do here is kind of interesting, because I don't have the luxury of worrying about who's watching and who's not, whose feelings I'm going to hurt and who I don't. I'm only concerned with one thing. Are you intelligent enough to understand what I'm going to show you, what I'm going to speak about, why I'm showing it to you, and why I'm speaking about it, and why I'm presenting it in this particular way? Now I'm going to repeat what Toni Morrison said again. She said, repeat after me. I want all of you to repeat after me. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're Spanish. I don't care if you, whatever you are, Asian, whatever you are, repeat after me. This is in honor of Toni Morrison. She said, repeat after me now. Racism is a scholarly affair. Those are 5 words. Don't ever forget that. Racism is a scholarly affair. What does that mean? What it means is that to be a real racist, it's not enough to understand racism to be a real racist. You have to know and understand where true racism is practiced. True racism is not practiced with a gun. It's a level of true racism, but there's a power behind that gun. And this is what black people fail to understand. There is a power behind that gun that is more powerful than the gun. And it's that same area where true racism is practiced. And I'm going to show it to you. Okay? This is where true racism is practiced. This. And the things that are produced from this. You have to remember, for most of history, books were made with this or some form of this. Your keyboard is just another form of this. Your typewriter is just another form of this. This is where true racism is practiced. She said racism is a scholarly affair. It's a competition of ideas. It's a competition and enforcement of ideas. the imposition of ideas with impunity. Meaning you can enforce it and do it, and then nobody could do a damn thing about it. Not because they're too weak, but because they're too intellectually stunted to even see what has just been done to them. And they're too apathetic and too indifferent to autocorrect their behavior to counter what we've put in place. So let me explain to you why I'm going down this little rabbit hole. I'm going to show you something on my screen. It's important. Remember I talked about those white kids in Harvard, right? And I'm going to keep stressing, what I'm talking about is not all white people, but this is not a question about all white people and all black people. This is a question about a particular scenario and situation which impacts lives. What did the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, what did he describe as the most traumatic experience of his life that made him become what he became? You know what he is. I don't have to use the term. But what was it? It was one experience. When he was studying law at Harvard, and it was made clear to him that many of his white classmates audibly made it clear to him that the only reason he was in Harvard was because of affirmative action. That's why he has worked so hard to destroy it, and destroy it he did. He didn't care about all the opportunities he was taking away from people who could achieve the same thing that he did based on the same grace and deference, racial deference that he was given. He said, no. Clarence Thomas said, I may have come here on affirmative action, whether I know it or not, unbeknownst to me, but you will not come here on affirmative action. So because that accusation made him feel less than. Now here's the thing. Who is the real criminal in that equation? Is it Clarence Thomas for wanting to get an education that was afforded to him? Or was it those privileged white students who felt it incumbent upon themselves to diminish the status of their fellow student simply because he was black and of African descent? Who's the real villain? It's kind of like when I think about Michael Jackson and how he disfigured his face in order to achieve European phenotype. I'm not interested in all of the vitiligo stories. The level of vitiligo that he had would not have warranted what our brother did. But when I think about the Michael Jackson situation and what he did with his skin, what amazes me is that people don't hold the real villains in that equation to account. Many of you who are watching me were not alive in the 1980s. I was. I went through all of the 80s from 1980 to 1989. I remember it like it was yesterday. Those were my formative growing up years. The 70s, or I went through all of the 70s. From 1970 to 1979, I went through all of the 80s. From 1980 to 1989. And I went through some of the 60s. Okay? The 80s was a time when white Hollywood had denigrated Black America And it wasn't just Hollywood. It was just marketing, period. The marketing industry. The dominant culture and the dominant class, the dominant race, had marketing at their fingertips in a way that Black people today cannot understand and cannot relate to. To the point that if you were Black in the 80s, why do you think so many Black people were wearing jerry curls in the 1980s? Soul Glow, Coming to America. You think that was just a movie and it was just a joke? No. That jerry curl thing really was everywhere. And how you see people with dreadlocks today, that's the way Black people were in the 80s with jerry curls. And if you didn't have a jerry curl, you couldn't even get a girlfriend. That's how deep it was. If your hair wasn't relaxed and slick and had all that oil dripping down your shirt. But there was a reason. That Black self-hate, Black people went in two extremes in the 80s. One group went to extreme self-love and self-respect. That's the group I was raised in. And then the other group went to extreme self-hate. They couldn't wait to marry anything that was not Black just to make children that would not look like them. And if a jerry curl, skin bleach, if I could Stacey Dash myself out of here, yeah. The 80s could make you hate yourself if you were Black. It really could. Especially if you were mainstream. Oh my God. You had a lot of Black people having nervous breakdowns all over the place because everywhere you went in America at that time, everything that you saw was super duper uber white. You could be standing on 34th Street in the middle of Manhattan and just look at all the billboards. It's not like today. You look at billboards today, you see a young Black person, a young Spanish person, it wasn't like that in the 80s. At all. At all. I was listening to Tucker Carlson. Yeah, this is kind of like a fireside chat a little bit. I was listening to Tucker Carlson the other night on an interview, and he is definitively a racist. He's a racist in denial, but he's a racist nonetheless. In fact, he's a vicious racist. Tucker Carlson was talking about how much he missed the 1980s because in the 1980s, America was safe. It was a different place. And I said to myself, it would only take a sheltered, privileged white person from Maine to say something like that. To confuse his 1980s with the 1980s of Larry Davis in the Bronx, Alpo, and all of the other pharmacists and pharmacology going on throughout the hoods, where bodies were dropping left and right. So I think what he meant to say was that white communities were safe in the 1980s because the segregation was still persisting in a very strong way. But when he said that, it just made me say, wow, like, you consider yourself a world traveler, a world journalist, and this, that, and the third, but you're stupid enough to think that you're narrow-minded and intellectually restrictive enough to think that your little experience growing up in these white enclaves that you experienced was the reality for everybody else. That is, to me, weird. I wouldn't think that my experience growing up in the 1980s, and I grew up in the 1980s, there's nothing about the 1980s I can't tell you. There's no movie you can see from the 1980s that I was in somehow, some way not a part of. Trust me on this one. Okay? In real life. But I'm not going to project my experience of the 1980s onto some young white person growing up in the Panhandle in Florida or in New Hampshire or Idaho. These are different experiences because they're different ecosystems, they're different communities. So it's amazing to me that those people who see themselves as the most intellectually broad are in fact and in truth the most narrow-minded people you will ever meet, ever. And And to a fault, it's because they are not interested in truly seeing themselves as they are. Right. So I just wanted to put that out there. But so here's what I'm getting at. These white students in Harvard, telling the black student, you're only here because of affirmative action. And I want to show you what they quote, because they still quote it today. They still quote it today. Present. I said present. Share screen. Here we go. All right, entire screen. Allow. Okay. Let me make sure that I am where I'm supposed to be. Yes, I am. Okay. So I want you to see my screen. Do you know who this woman is? This is Linda Gottfredson. Linda Gottfredson. Do you know who she is? I want you all to look her name up. Linda Gottfredson. Okay. Let me just tell you who she is, and then I'm going to tell you what she's known for. Gottfredson is an American psychologist and writer. She is Professor Emeritus of Educational Psychology at the University of Delaware. Now, I'm going to stop right there. Hold on a second. This woman is Professor Emeritus of what? She's a Professor Emeritus of Educational Psychology at the University of Delaware. Now, imagine if you as a black parent was paying for your child to go to school at the University of Delaware, and this woman, which today could very realistically happen, could be her professor. I want to show you the kind of people that are teaching in these universities. And you have to understand, what did Toni Morrison say? Racism is a scholarly affair. You have to understand where mainstream white America gets their ideas about black people. They often don't come from direct experience, because there are many white people in mainstream America that have no experiences with black people other than what they hear on television, see in the movies, see on social media, right? Or maybe have had some unfortunate experience at some time, perhaps, right? But you have to imagine where the bulk of white America, mainstream America, gets their ideas from, particularly when it comes to facts and science. Particularly when it comes to facts and science. I want you, this is the Professor of Educational Psychology, Professor Emeritus of Educational Psychology at the University of Delaware. Linda Gottfredson. Remember her. She's an American psychologist and writer. She's a Professor Emeritus of Educational Psychology at the University of Delaware and co-director of Delaware Johns Hopkins Project for the Study of Intelligence and Society. Now, Johns Hopkins needs to have their ass beat for being affiliated with her. She is best known for writing the 1994 letter, Mainstream Science on Intelligence. Remember I said mainstream America? So she wrote a letter in 1994 that was so famous that it's documented, called Mainstream Science on Intelligence. Which was published in the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal. You wonder why privileged white young people at Harvard are looking at you and telling you you're in Harvard because of affirmative action? Maybe it's because they think your IQ isn't high enough for you to be in Harvard because of the color of your skin. Maybe they read her letter. It was published in the Wall Street Journal in defense of Richard Herrnstein and Charles Murray's controversial book, The Bell Curve. So she wrote a letter defending the bell curve. For those of you who don't know about the book, The Bell Curve, It was a book that basically said that black people are less intelligent than white people because of genetics. The difference in our genetics makes black people less intelligent. And she wrote a letter defending the book that was published in the Wall Street Journal. She is on the board of the International Society for the Study of Individual Differences, which means her whole education and career is about highlighting differences in people, making distinctions between people, not let's all hold hand and kumbaya and I have a dream that one day in America, little black boys and little white. No, that is not what she gets paid to do. She gets paid to highlight the differences and study and understand the differences between people. So y'all don't understand how power works. She's on the boards of the Society of the Study of Individual Differences, the International Society for Intelligence Research, and the editorial board of the academic journals Intelligence. She's on the editorial board of an academic journal called Intelligence, Learning, and Individual Differences and Society. Okay. I'm going to stop there with that. Now I'm going to come to the Southern Poverty Law Center, see what they said about her. Educational psychologist Linda Gottfredson. Remember, she's affiliated with Johns Hopkins and the University of Delaware. These are institutions that are heavily invested in the public and have an impact on public policy. Educational psychologist Linda Gottfredson has spent more than 3 decades fighting against the idea that social equality between black and white Americans is possible or even desirable. So from her position, it should not be desirable that there be a social equality between black and white Americans. Now you might say, Shaka, this is one woman's opinion. No. This is a woman who major American institutions are heavily invested in her views. Following a long tradition of scientific racism, Gottfredson argues that racial inequality, especially in employment, is the direct result of genetic racial differences in intelligence. Relying heavily on money obtained from the White Nationalist Pioneer Fund, Gottfredson has worked tirelessly to oppose any and all efforts to reduce racial inequality in both in the workplace and in society as a whole. Now listen, the bell curve, this is what she says in her own words. The bell curve for whites is centered roughly around IQ 100. The bell curve for American blacks roughly around 85. And those for different subgroups of Hispanics roughly midway between those for whites and blacks. The evidence is less definitive for exactly where above IQ 100 the bell curve for Jews and Asians are centered. Now, that's from Mainstream Science on Intelligence, the Wall Street Journal, 1994. The IQs of different groups of African blacks range more around 70. That's from an interview with Stefan Molyneux. Okay? Now, we're going to stop there. Why is that important? That's important because, let me explain this to you. When black people, and this is what I mean, part of my issue I have with black people is they don't understand and appreciate white humanity. You're not going to understand what I'm saying until I finish saying what I'm saying. Black people forget that white people are human beings too, right? They're not just a color, they're human beings too. And as human beings, they are going to be susceptible to the same egotistical bullshit that all other human groups are susceptible to. Let me bring it home for you so you can understand what I'm saying. As a black person, I'm talking to my black people. As a black person, when you read something good about black people, when you read something that makes black people stand out head and shoulders above the rest, above everybody else, it makes you feel good as a black person. Wrong or right? I'm not sitting up here with these emblems because I'm ashamed of Nile Valley history or African history, black history. In fact, it's the opposite. Why? From reading things that made me feel good about myself. Wrong or right? When you as a black person read a book by Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Francis Cress Wilson, Toni Morrison, whoever, Shakka-Ahmose, great black writers. And if you haven't read any of these authors, then you're way behind the rest of us. When you read books by Walter Rodney, Eric Williams, which most of you have not read, Drusilla John G. Houston, the wonderful Ethiopians of the ancient Kushite Empire, when you read these books, Dr. Ben, Africa, Mother of Western Civilization, Africa, the origins of the major Western, the African origins of the major Western religions. Shakka-Ahmose, the African origin of civilization, myth or reality. Tony Browder, Nile Valley contributions, Nile Valley civilization, right? That's a real ego booster. When we read books about things that make us stand out and distinguish us from everybody else, it makes us feel good about ourselves. We wear it in our pocket. We put it on our clothes. How much black clothing you see across social media? A fist up, an afro, the black king and the black queen. I see more black king and queen posts over social media than I've seen in history books. The point I'm making to you is that if we feel good when we read things about ourselves that distinguish us, how do you think the average white person is going to feel when they read things about themselves that distinguish them from other people and make them stand out from other people? They're going to feel good about it. They are going to pocket it away and keep it with them. So when the mantra of high white IQ versus low black IQ is the mainstream narrative in American universities, European universities, and Canadian universities, maybe even some Asian universities, right? When this is the mainstream narrative and you get there thinking you're one of the crowd, oh, we're all just, yeah, I'm a Harvardite, like, you know, we're all just the same. And then they're looking at you like, no, you don't belong here. We know. How do we know? Because our scholars have told us and pointed out, and a lot of that data comes out of California, UC Berkeley, and Stanford, that black people have a low IQ and white people have a high IQ. It never occurred to them that the fact that black people on average do not perform as well on those tests as their white and Asian counterparts might not have anything whatsoever to do with IQ. You would think their high IQ would clue them into that. No, it doesn't. But why is this important? I'm explaining to you why this is important. And why the Katt Williams interview is important. What black people fail to understand, black people have always said white people culturally appropriate us. If white people culturally appropriate us, they can only do so because they are watching us. If they are watching us, then they are also listening to us. So if they come into the conversation already thinking that we have a low IQ on average, when we open our mouths on public platforms and begin to speak about things publicly of an academic nature, such as history, they are listening and they are watching. So when you open your mouth and say some inaccurate shit, some stuff that is refuted by the prevailing scholarship and the scholarly consensus, when you make a public verbal faux pas and still want to sit there like you're saying something because your ego wants you to profess to the world that you are some genius hidden away from the world, when you do that, you make the rest of us look like we have a low fucking IQ. You make it appear as if what they say about us is true. This is the reason I attack the subject matters that I do the way that I do. And here's the thing. If you are stupid enough as a black person to think that white institutions harboring the idea that black people on average have a lower IQ than whites and Asians, if you think that that is a harmless idea, if you think that that idea does not trickle its way into your personal life and into your professional life, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, if you think that that idea does not preclude and derail opportunities based on preconceived notions held by the haves concerning the have-nots, then the first thing I would tell you as a black person is that you don't give a fuck about your children or the children throughout our communities, because they are the ultimate victims of that idea. Who you think is in the classroom with your children? You think it's black teachers? Have you looked across the bulk of the schools throughout America? The majority of the teachers, and I'll say it only because statistically it's a fact, are white lesbians. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a white lesbian. I'm not casting dispersion on white lesbians. I'm just saying that this is the fact. So if this is the fact, how does this idea of black people having a lower IQ on average, which is buttressed and supported by scholars, peer-reviewed scholars? I watch all of these different black channels on YouTube. I've not seen one black channel address this issue. And because I've not seen one black channel address this issue, it tells me this very thing I've always known about black people. As usual, we are asleep at the wheel. The one thing that we are always most concerned with is the thing that is least important. That's the one, I don't know, it's something, it's the way they engineered us. You got to remember, they tinkered with our minds on them plantations. Don't forget that. We are still in recovery, generation after generation after generation. You better stop and check yourself and examine where you are in that recovery process, if at all you have recovered at all. And the ultimate gain, the ultimate destination of a recovery is not assimilation, you morons. You're so busy trying to fit in and assimilate. That is not ever the ultimate destination. Recovery should always and only have one destination. Recovery is supposed to lead to restoration, restoring. If you're not interested in restoring, why do you think this collar is around my neck? Why do you think these serpents reside on my frontal delts? I restored them to their places, to their rightful places. It's about restoring. And if restoring doesn't mean anything to you, then don't ask for reparations and don't complain about what you lost because you don't care about what you lost. Don't talk to anyone about reparations. You don't deserve it if you don't think that the end goal is supposed to be being restored. That is the whole point of reparations, to restore. If all you can think about is repay, then you're going to be repaid and still broken. Why? Because the mere fact that you were not restored means because you were not restored first, that means when you get that money from reputations, you will not have the requisite institutions in place that represent your interest so that those monies are put to usage which represents your best interest as a collective. So you see, you got your shit, your R's backward. You're overly concerned about reparations when you should be concerned about restoration, restoring your black mind. Restoring your right mind. That's what you need to be focused on. And that's why we're here tonight. And so I wanted to I haven't looked at the chat at all. Normally I do before I haven't even started the presentation yet. That IQ issue was something I've been wanting to address for a long time because no one talks about it. And it bothers me because I don't know if you debate white folks as often as I do. I debate white folks all the time. And I'm always surprised, or maybe I shouldn't be, as Professor James Small would say, I'm surprised you surprised. Or Dr. Clark would say that. I'm surprised you surprised. What throws me off is when I debate with people on Facebook, it's not the older white people that invoke the IQ clause. It's the younger white people. That's what trips me out. The ones who are currently in college now, they are the ones who throw that IQ myth out there. That IQ aberration, that IQ, that disparate IQ dichotomy between blacks and whites. It's young white people that do that. And why is that important? It's not the older white people that are going to be interacting and sharing this world with your younger black people. It's the younger white people who hold on to these things as part of their worldview. It instructs how they see people, how they interact with people. So when people go on these platforms and they start talking about things of a historical nature and of an academic nature, because they want to present as brilliant. And Katt Williams is brilliant. I wouldn't know. I would hope that if I ever met that man with his face, I would look at him and say, brother, you are brilliant. Being brilliant and being well-read are not the same thing. And though I'm glad my brother Katt had that reading experience when he was growing up that made him love reading and love books, I love that. He's a bibliophile. He's a true bibliophile. But loving to read and having actually done the requisite homework, they're not the same thing. Or should I say, never the twain shall meet. Right? What's the difference? I could have spent the summer surfing. I could have fallen in love with surfing. Does that now give me the right to present as an expert surfer who can go surf on the top of a tsunami wave in the middle of a hurricane? Because you got surfers out there that are like that. They grew up on the water like that. No, you would drown before you even got off the beach. They're not the same thing. Academics is no different. the study of history. What bothers me most about history is people think that history, unlike other subject matters, is something anybody and everybody has the right to talk about. Anybody and everybody has the right to weigh in on. No, that's like saying anybody could be a dentist. Oh, anybody could be anybody could do heart surgery. Anybody could do dentistry. Would you go to just anybody to put a crown on your teeth or to take out a cavity? Anybody? You would go to just anybody? I'm asking you. If you had to have heart surgery, would you go to Habib in the 7-Eleven or in the corner bodega? Would you let Habib in the corner bodega do heart surgery on you? Who knows? Maybe back in this country he was he was a heart surgeon. No. You go to people based on the amount of time they invested in that particular discipline. That's called respect. First of all, you respect yourself by doing that. Well, you should carry that same respect when you're going to people to learn history. Respect yourself enough to not just listen to anybody and everybody and absorb every meme that you see on social media. Because most of the stuff that you see on social media is bullshit. Oh, they just found a big sarcophagus in Egypt. And it's just a meme. Man. Anyway, let me get to this presentation. I just wanted to touch on this IQ thing to let you know that's the real reason I see an interview like the one Katt did on Club Shay Shay, and I know that white people are listening. How do I know? Because when I read the comments under the Club Shay Shay interview, all I was looking for was for the white comments of people who already think that black people have a low IQ. And sure enough, all I saw in there were all of the corrections that white, and I took copies of them, so I'm going to show them to you. I'm going to show you all of the accurate corrections that white people were putting in the post. Now, what bothers me about that is I'm saying to myself, brother, if you are as well-read and as brilliant as you are purporting yourself to be and as historically literate as you are presenting, certain fundamental shit you should not be getting wrong. Certain fundamental shit you should not be getting wrong. Not only that, certain books shouldn't be coming out of your mouth. Certain books should not be coming out of your mouth. This is my opinion and my perspective as someone who actually studies. Now, let me get to some of these chats and say hello to people. Rashad, I'm my aunt to you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Ashley, very much so. Well, baby London, I'm easy to find. All of my contacts is in the description. If people from Japan and Australia can find me and call me every day, then I don't trip on people who talk about, we got to get together one day, and y'all don't hit me up. So when you hit me up, act on it. Act on it. DJ B, thank you so much. Big up. Absolutely. All right. Hotep Jason. All right. Hey, Jacoby J, I appreciate you. Hotep, Uncle Johnson. Absolutely. All right. For posterity, right? Oh, yeah, facts. Absolutely. Facts. I witness other students not caring about education and looking down at others that do. Of course. Absolutely. Hey, salam from Ethiopia. All right. That's what's up. Hey, we got to get a different picture of Mary on there, though. I'm teasing you. Okay. Erdema Shakim Ra. Hey. Denestelate to my Ethiopia. All right. Here we go. Where we at? All right. Hutuapo. Absolutely. Udama Asakema. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Shaka family. Hey, what's up? I got to tell you something. I love New York. You will be shocked at how much Ethiopian music I listen to. I listen to so much Ethiopian music. It's ridiculous. I really do. The music is called, I think it's called misnomered. It's like their gospel music, but it's so beautiful. Yeah, I listen to a lot of Ethiopian music, a lot. Right? I like the Oromo music. I like the Tigray music. Of course, the Amhara. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love it all, for sure. Right? Absolutely. Okay. That's right. This is uncut. That's right, Doc Motivate. This, everything I just spoke about was not scripted. It's not something it's just something that's really been building up. And I'm like, I really want people to understand, why is it, it's kind of like running interference. I run interference because I don't want, and maybe part of me feels like, well, you shouldn't really give a damn what white people think. I care what the world thinks about us, because we all live in this world. I care what we think about us first. But you have to care what the rest of the world thinks, because you have to interact with the rest of the world. And you can't wait until it's too late to realize, oops, your racial reputation precedes you. And now you wonder why you didn't get this opportunity, or you wonder why you didn't get that opportunity, or you wonder why these people thought from the outset that they could take advantage of you and pull one over on you and ended up getting away with it. Because they were counting on the fact that your IQ was not what it was supposed to be. Y'all heard the man. Let's get these likes up. I got 88, only 88. That's cool. I got 88 people in here watching. I need to see 90 likes. That's how that works. I got 88 people watching. I need to see 90 likes. Thank you, Doc. Oh, that's an important question, boss. Boss Trucker. I had to take a picture of that. You know why? That's an important question. That's why. There's so much going on around Kemetville that aspect of the Kemetville community is literally still being architected. And I literally can't do everything, but I have a piece of my hand in everything, because the parts that I'm responsible for are the most integral parts of Kemetville. So that in every aspect of Kemetville, my presence is felt. And so that question that you asked is going to be the prominent question that is going to be placed toward the top of our bulletin board, our power board, this coming week. So boss, you get a special shout out for that one, because that's an important question. But you can start by going to Shakka-Ahmose.com and watching the short film, my short theatrical film. Oh, which reminds me, for those of you who are watching me for the first time and who have not watched the platform before, please take time to go to my website, Shakka-Ahmose.com, so that you can expose yourself and enjoy, have a meaningful moment watching the theatrical film short that I recently produced. It's called The Last Night of Asar. It details the last night spent between the god Asar and the goddess Aset. The last night he spent before he meets his demise at the hands of his brother Set. So this is part of the Kemetville series. It's a short film to get people interested in the web series that I'm currently, that is under production, in pre-production. And so here it is. After you see this, we're going to get started with the presentation. Boom. Thank you for watching. Now, after you finish watching this presentation, head on over to Shakka-Ahmose.com or Kemetville.com. It'll lead you to the same place, and you can watch that full film short in its entirety. It's memorable. It's if you believe the fan mail and the reviews, people seem to have watched it multiple times. So please, don't cheat yourself. Treat yourself. Have an experience. Okay. Yeah, I'm with Doc. Let's get these likes up so that the algorithm understands that this content is what Black folk value. Okay, you have to communicate to them that you value this. Absolutely. Okay. All you have to do is watch part 1 and part 2 of this presentation, and some of that is discussed. Quite a bit of it is. Jackie, long time no see. Pleasure to see you. Absolutely. That's right. Do it for the veil. Do it for the veil. Absolutely. Do it for the veil. Absolutely. That's what we say. Those of us in the Kemetville family, everything is do it for the veil. At the last minute, when you can't think of why you need to do something, do it for the veil. Absolutely. I appreciate that, Zachary. Hey, Zachary. What's up, Zachary? We got a link. Absolutely. So let me tell you a little bit about Zachary. Zachary is Jewish, and he spent quite a bit of time watching the back and forth between the Kemetic community on the channel that I used to be on all the time and the Hebrew Israelites, and I think also the Moors. He was just watching the rhetoric and the information clearinghouse, type of discourse that we had. And he made a video on YouTube that he sent to me. To this day, I'm very grateful for it. He made a video giving his honest opinion about and sharing his perspective. And not only this, he's highly educated. I think he has a degree in engineering. And it's either engineering or physics. I forget which one. But he's a brilliant young man. And he made a video, and I'm very grateful for the accolades that he gave to me in contradistinction, not just to myself, but to the Kemetic, to myself as an individual and to the Kemetic community at large, in that he felt, academically speaking, we had the more sound arguments, and that the things that we were positing was certainly attested to by the available material on the subject. And he had familiarized himself with some of the subject matter from scholarship that he was comfortable with. One of them being an Israeli scholar, if I remember correctly, who wrote a book on Egypt that Zachary invests in. But very interesting young man, brilliant young man, and I appreciate your presence. Straight up bullshit. No, what they say, no chaser, right? No bullshit, no chaser. Straight up. So I appreciate you, Zach. Stick around. Hit me up again on Facebook, or I'll go looking for yours and I'll hit you up, and we can kick it. All right, that's what's up. Because I told you we were gonna kick it, and I meant it at the time. And I'm still working on the same project. This is a long haul marathon that I'm running. But yeah, we're gonna kick it, Zach. Absolutely. So stick around. Okay. Doc Motivate, I totally appreciate you, brother. Okay. Icon 101, you stupid. It's not Shakka-Ahmose, like Saul would say. That's funny. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Retained Ascension. Always appreciating that. All of the encouragement matters. Absolutely. The love, the encouragement matters. Absolutely. We got London in the house. Okay. Retained Ascension. We got London in the house. That's what's up. Angel, hello. I appreciate you. Absolutely. I see you, Angel. I see you up in there. Hello, brother. There you go. All right. Shout out as many people as I can. Let's get this learning. We are about to. Absolutely. Hey, Lavina, always a pleasure. Always. And I mean that. You stand out in my mind because you've made your presence known. Hit me up on Facebook and just asking the requisite questions. And the interest is always appreciated. It's what generates, when you guys express interest in what I'm doing or what I'm working on, that is the gasoline that lets me know, okay, you're on the right path, stay in this direction, keep going, keep doing, get it done. This is where you have to level your acts, right? So yeah, I just keep chopping away at that tree for sure. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your presence. Absolutely. Let's see here. Okay. Not really, only because I don't let them waste my time too much. Sometimes, I mean, if I showed you guys, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to start taking pictures of my arguments that I have on Facebook so you can read the exchange. It's incredible, but I think it's kind of unfair, maybe to Egyptians as well. But like that Egyptian sister said, she said there's a lot of racism in Egypt, and she should know she's Egyptian. So it's not like African Americans are just operating in their own little world. He said, facts. My experience is that most of my racial compatriots are totally colonized and prefer not knowing a lot about issues. Zachary, that is what when I thought that and when I said it, I knew instinctively that white people who have presence of mind would perceive the truth in it. Why? Because they're existing in that community. And just like in our community, we know all of the different archetypes that operate around us. You're going to know all of the different archetypes that operate within your immediate environment. And you're going to, patterns emerge. You're going to interact with certain types of injury when there's going to be a level of repetition to the point where you can see, yeah, this is a running theme, or this is something that's just a staple in my community, or a reality that emerges from time to time, place to place, if not on a regular basis. But only persons embedded in those communities would know just how prevalent it really is. I can only imagine how prevalent it really is on the white side, in that in the Western world, white people are the dominant culture. So when you walk into a university setting, even if you do have some liberal universities, it doesn't mean that the liberal universities that allow for a certain breadth of perspective, it doesn't mean that they're not outnumbered by or dominated by the conservative universities that kind of set the pace for what the real scholarly or what the accepted scholarly consensus is in mainstream scholarship. So yeah, I appreciate that perspective, Zachary, big time. Absolutely. Stick around, man. It was really a pleasant surprise to see you. I didn't expect that, right? So hey. Okay. Boom. I don't know what that boom was for, but I'm gonna take it. Facts. Okay. All right. Leaving Lords, Appalachian Trails, my brother. Hey. Appalachian Trails. If you want the Appalachian, you up there, right? This is equity that they didn't have us in chains and fold and carry on. Facts. Absolutely facts. They dismiss equity as if they didn't have us in chains and folk carry on disconnected to the heritage. Yeah, absolutely. Facts. Absolutely. I just want to give the chat their few minutes that I normally give at the top of the show, but I had something on my mind and my heart that I wanted to share earlier, which I did share with you guys concerning the IQ thing, and I wanted you to know that that's what really motivates me that's what motivates me to address things, to let people know that are watching us as a community that all of us are not as not well-read as many of us are, okay? Because many of us are not well-read. All of us are not all of us are not well-read, okay? So I'm just looking for those comments that, yeah, I'm always talking straight, talking that real facts. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, facts. Yo, when you see that interview, she killed it. She was like a laser beam. Facts. Of course they do. Their very presence in this country is white privilege. It's like, you don't get more white privilege than that. Like, look, just being here, right? Hotel. Oh, Julius, I hope everything is working well for you, bro. Absolutely. I really and genuinely do. I hope you've had some growth for sure. Okay. Almost to the bottom. Yeah, the 80s was wild. Facts. You was born in 82. I was partying in 82. I was running them streets and up in them clubs in 82. Okay. Absolutely. What's that? Serena looks ridiculous after her skin bleach. Well, I think her greatest nightmare would have been having a child that looked like her all over again. It would have been a symbol of her not reaching the success that she felt that she earned. She earned the right to be reborn racially adrift, So that was her choice, Exactly. Absolutely. I appreciate that, Tahaka. Hey, Tahaka, that's a good name. Tahaka. Very good name. Come on with it. Cool. What else? I know she was up with that BS propaganda. Of course, she's still helping them come up with that BS propaganda. Absolutely. And black people have no idea how devastating that question of IQ is. Very, very devastating. Absolutely. Facts. I appreciate that, Zachary. But facts. I was just talking about the fact that this is why I always tell people. I've lived long enough to know that while you have one group playing friendly, kumbaya, let's be friends, the other group is going to use that to their advantage, or the other contingency within their group is going to use that to advantage. In other words, part of the danger of the kumbaya, what I call the kumbaya principle, is that well-meaning and good-natured white persons can be used as a Trojan horse by white persons who are not well-meaning and who do mean you harm. You understand? It's very important. Not just white persons, but multiracial and biracial persons. What did we look at in part one? We talked about race switching, code switching behaviorally, and code switching linguistically. I brought those things up to you so that you could understand the things that we spoke about thus far with the modern Egyptian identity. There are things there's places that this presentation is going to go. There might be a part 25 or part 30. I don't know, because there's a lot of things we have to talk about based on the things that Katt brought up. Katt Williams is the gift that keeps on giving. Right? I would love, not that it will ever happen, I would love to give Katt Williams a private class so he could ask me the questions that are relevant about Kemet, aka ancient Egypt, so I could furnish him with accurate answers, because the accurate answers are far more interesting than all of the conspiracy bullshit, right? The conspiracy bullshit that Joe Rogan is into, which is, you know, it's just bullshit. Let's see here. Hey, that's right. She's a psychologist. India, welcome. Absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, that's not a flaw. That's by design. That's not a flaw. That's by design. Loudy. Okay. Okay. Let's give that name right. Hey, absolutely. Absolutely. Hotep from Chicago. That's what's up. All right, Tyler Hotep. Hotep. Shayna loves Shanae. All right, Shayna loves Shanae. Hotep Shayna. I love Shanae too. We all love Shanae. That's what's up. 1980s pain train. Facts. Susan, welcome. Hotep, Uncle Jasaneb. Absolutely. Teachers are real interesting these days. Yo, Zachary. Facts. Yo, facts, dude. Facts. Teachers are real interesting these days. They really are. One of my favorite persons in this whole world is Neil deGrasse Tyson, the astrophysicist. He and I actually have a lot in common. I'm not going to go into what those things are, but I watched an interview today with his mother. I fell in love with that woman. I was just blown away. I was really blown away by her. Like, I was more blown away. When you see Neil deGrasse Tyson's mother, you see why he is the way he is. And she brought back a lot of memories of the New York that I grew up in. So, yeah. You know, I'm going to do something I don't ever do. Shout out to Dr. Umar. Somebody said Dr. Umar is pretty vocal about it, and I never shout my brother out on here. I'm going to shout him out. It's long overdue. You know, Umar and I may not see eye to eye on everything. I have a number of critiques about Umar, but the fact that he dares to be himself in a world that tells him he should not be, I embrace that. So, yeah, absolutely. Shout out to my brother. Yeah, oh, absolutely. No question about it. No question about it. Right, absolutely, absolutely. Facts. Hey, all right, Kemet New. Okay, Kemet New, I see you. I know who that is too. Absolutely. Alexandria, welcome back. Good to see you back. Absolutely. I'm glad you're here with us tonight. Absolutely. So, hey, absolutely. Hey, Ty, West Side Rider in the house. We got the Bay Area in the Slate area. That's what's up. Okay. All right, folks. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have Ethiopian cousins. My father's favorite uncle was my Ethiopian uncle, Uncle Wanzo. He married my great aunt, who actually just turned 100 years old last week. So this was an Ethiopian African-American marriage that took place back in the 40s, in the 1940s. Yeah, absolutely. My father's favorite uncle, Uncle Wanzo, and all of his children, all of my cousins, they all turned out to be attorneys, all of them. Yep, absolutely. Well, two of them, not one of them. Right. Okay. Yeah, 3 children. 2 turned out to be attorneys. The other one did. Okay. In fact, one of them lives in D.C. with the Ethiopian community. Okay. And I have a few. I've had a few former Ethiopian rendezvous that will always remain close and dear to my heart. Always. Always. Ooh, I was walking down the street earlier today and I was just thinking, man, memories. The kind of memories that I have are I got memories. Absolutely. Oh, Ethiopian music? You haven't heard music until you've heard Ethiopian music. No, you haven't. Ethiopian music is addictive. And the crazy part is when I was in a relationship with two different Ethiopian queens, stars, two Ethiopian stars. And both of them tried to get me interested in Ethiopian music, and I refused. I was not interested. I did not care. One day, I was eating in an Ethiopian restaurant by myself, and those relationships had gone to the past. And a song came on, and I had never heard a song so beautiful in my life. From that point on, I went searching through all Ethiopian music, and I became addicted. All Ethiopian music. Their gospel music is my favorite, right? Oh, no, that's too time consuming. Somebody said Ethiopian artist list put us on. Are you kidding me? That's a whole show. Ori Hotep, that's what's up. Adam Dash, right? I don't know what this is right here, but anytime people are using inappropriate language in my chat, I can already tell you're not a part of this community because we don't use language like that. So this person is out. Goodbye. Yeah, we don't have those kind of conversations in this chat. Okay. Hey, I appreciate that very much. So, social proof. That's what they call that. I appreciate that. Absolutely. What was this? Make sure the film's music is that community. We have any knowledge of community that never had to top discussed. What film are you talking about? Are you talking about my film? The Last Night of a Tsar? I don't know what film you're referencing. Okay. Okay, let me know that. Okay. Thank you. It's always a pleasure having you. Thank you. I appreciate you, Lavina. I genuinely do. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm trying to hit up as many people as I can before I start off. Once I start, I ain't stopping. Hold on, what? What? No. That's just when you go to the website, they put what's called stock pictures there. And the picture that you see with the only model you need to be looking at on that thing is myself. That's it. Those other ones are just stock. That's what's in the in fact, yeah, that's just what's there. That's yeah, that comes with it with the platform. Okay. So you'll have to ask Shopify why they do that. Okay. Okay. And by the way, while you're there, instead of looking at them, get yourself the t-shirt so you could take some pictures of model in it and send it to me. That's what's up. You heard? Here we go. I don't know what that means. Oh, wonderful. I love to hear that. Wonderful. I really, really love that. Absolutely. Hey, my favorite comment. Got my t-shirt months ago. People love it. There you go, people. That part. Okay. That part. Tahaka. Appreciate you. Nahem. Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course it is. I don't know why y'all go. He said, this is my night trip to Kemet, and it's getting worse in terms of their attitude by us coming over there. Why do you give them your money? I would not support an economy that hates me. It's bad enough we support this one, but we live in it, so we have to. But I'm not going to go across the world to support people who are actually thieving and destroying our culture, literally scraping the paint off. I call them paint scrapers. That's what I call them. They paint, they scrape the paint off. And I'm going to give them my money? Oh, no. I would rather rebuild Kemet someplace else. Facts. And don't be jacking on Zachary. Zachary's good people. All right, okay. Look, I ain't gonna touch that one. Hey, Alexandria, I agree with you, but I ain't gonna put that on the screen. I already said I've been in relationships with 2 of them, so yeah, absolutely. Okay, wonderful. I'm at the bottom. Yes. I agree with that. Yes. Cool. All right, now we can get started. I hit the bottom. That was my goal. Okay, to make sure I hit everybody. Okay, folks, here we go. We are about to start the presentation. And look, if you're watching this and I took too long to get to the presentation, they have a thing called fast forward. Just fast forward it. All right. This is like we said, this is our fireside chat. I catch up with you guys, talk to you about what's going on, get some things off my chest, and then I hit it. Okay. Here we go. Strap in, boys and girls. Here we go. Our brother Katt. Uncle Johnson Neb to Katt. We mean that. We love him and appreciate him over here at ATM. Oh, that's so good. Okay. Oh my God, that was so good. Okay. Chopped noses. So let's look at what Katt Williams said. Now, he said this on Willie D Live. This is before the Club Shay Shay interview, but it was released after the Shay Shay interview. This is what he said. Now, think about this. Katt Williams is going from interview to interview, and the top subject on each interview is ancient Kemet. Think about that. He talked about it on Club Shay Shay. He talked about ancient Egypt on Willie D, and he definitely talked about ancient Egypt for almost the entire interview on Joe Rogan. So, what's the deal? Let's talk about that for a second. Katt Williams, and nobody's talking about this, is literally going from interview to interview to interview where the number one subject is ancient Egypt, Kemet. He talked about it on Shay Shay. He talked about it on Willie D, and he talked about it in Joe Rogan. Go watch the Joe Rogan interview. 90% of the interview was about ancient Egypt and the pyramids. From a conspiratorial perspective, but that's all he talked about. So you telling me that when Katt Williams talks about it, it matters and it's important? But when those of us who actually study it, when we talk about it, it don't matter? Okay. I guess you just got to drop a little bit of, just drop a dash of celebrity in your perspective, and it'll carry some weight. I don't know. But I wish the brother would get with me. Instead of getting with I don't want to call Joe Rogan a dum-dum, but he's not historically literate, and he's in love with all this conspiratorial bullshit, but then so too is Katt Williams. So that was, when you saw that interview with Katt Williams and Joe Rogan, it was like, from my perspective, when it comes to historical literacy, you had two of the same people in the right room. Yeah, absolutely. I'm only talking about that particular lane. I'm not talking about any other lane, right? I'm not going to pretend I can tell jokes. I'm not. That's not my lane. Why am I going to try to shine in that lane when other people have paid dues to be in that lane? So what people have to understand is that there are those of us who have paid dues to be in this lane. And we don't suffer lightly those who come into this lane and miseducate, mislead, grandstand, all of this other stuff. And it's like, yo, wait a minute. You stepping on toes. We might be, and see, that's the other thing too, right? In their world, we a bunch of nobodies. But that's part of the problem with celebrities. Celebrities think everybody's a nobody until they start to go downhill. And you know what amazes me about these celebrities before I get back to the presentation? It seems like they have forgotten the golden rule of success. And I don't know how they could forget unless y'all didn't go up around any older black people or older white people. The oldest saying in show business and in success, what is it? Be kind to the people that you meet on the way up, because those are going to be the same people you meet on the way down. Why? Because nature said that everything that goes up must come. Okay? You ever met a celebrity that didn't come? Okay? Okay. All right? Now, let's get back. Yeah, I think that's ironic. Or I think it's noteworthy and remarkable. Every single interview he does, ancient Egypt is right there at the center. Kemet is right. Well, Kemet, now he hasn't gotten to Kemet yet. He doesn't know enough about Kemet. He's stuck on ancient Egypt. So hopefully he will evolve to Kemet. Okay? I would love to give that brother a class. That would be a dream come true class for me, because I know he would appreciate everything that he would receive, you know? Because I think he genuinely loves knowledge. You know, he's just going at his pace. So, you know, I'm not judging the brother. I really am not, you know? But it doesn't mean that we can't take advantage of his statements to shed light on important subject matters. So this first part that he said was 100% true, and I agree with him. When he said black people have lost their identity, but our oppressors have not lost our identity. And that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. They watch us and listen to us. If y'all don't believe me, didn't I put some folks on the chat? Just now, highlight them. They're welcome here, though. I keep telling people all the time, I have white acquaintances, I have white friends, and I have white family members. I'm not ashamed of that. That's nature, right? That's nature. So that just comes with the territory. In fact, I'm always amazed when I meet people in this country that don't have members of other races in their family. I think that's weird or strange at this day and age. It's America, right? So, but this is the truth. But then he says this. He says, this is why they chopped the noses off of the pharaoh and the sphinx in Egypt in the first place. Then he says, it's because without this nose, we can tell you this is whoever it is. But with that nigger nose, it can only be niggas. Why would somebody vandalize a whole face and only vandalize one part? Nobody wanted to knock an eye off or take an ear off or no chins missing. Nope, just the nose, because it's a brand. Now, look what this white person said. And I know that they're white because I went to their YouTube page. Remember I told you I read the comments. So I went into the comments and look what this white person said. He said, I like Katt. 1000% wrong on why the noses were removed on the statues in Egypt. Completely wrong. Stop. Let me stop. This is what I'm talking about. When you got a young white person who knows the real reason why the noses were chopped off the statues in Egypt, had little, if anything, to do with race. It had little, or if anything, to do with race. For you to think that the reason that they chopped off the noses because the noses were big means that you don't know anything about the way the people of Kemet saw the world. You don't know about their beliefs. That's what it means. You don't know about their beliefs. Hey, look, send me one. Just make sure you send me the right one. We want you to marry an Ethiopian woman. We're going to have a smart person like you. Send me one. Send me one. Absolutely. Send me one. She and I, we can listen to Ethiopian music all day long. All day long. And I live not too far from Awash. And anybody knows Ethiopian restaurants in New York, they all know Awash. Okay? So, yeah, absolutely. I would not turn that down. Yeah. So, oh, yeah, Katt keeps saying this. What's somebody put it? Yeah. Katt said aliens built the pyramids. This... He did say it over and over again. Over and over and over again. Okay? But let's get back to it. So, here we go. So, he's saying that they knocked off the noses because they were big African noses like mine, which I love, my nose, right? I didn't love my nose when I was growing up because I used to get teased all the time. Only by the guys, not by the girls. That's a whole other story, right? So, now, how do I know that Billy Smith 6702 is a white person, or certainly is in a white family? Oh, I thought I had showed his picture. I had went to his page, and I actually took a picture of his family, him sitting around the table with his family. But then I think I thought twice about putting it in the presentation because I didn't ask his permission to put his picture of him and his family in the presentation. But this is what I mean when I say they're watching us. And when we say things that can be documented as being wrong. Now, the interesting thing about Katt, he's one of the few people I've seen do this. Katt can make a statement and be wrong, but somewhere in his statement, he's always correct. And that's something I've not seen before. Because even when I correct some of Katt Williams' statements, there's still something correct somewhere in the statement, and I respect that. Even when it comes to this, because I'm going to show you, he's not totally wrong. He's just mostly wrong, and there's a difference. Because if he was totally wrong, that means that what he said was absolutely wrong. It's mostly wrong. It's 95% incorrect. But there's an unaccounted 5% that can justify his statement, and we'll get to that. But right now, we're just going to deal with the 95 to 97% of his incorrect assessment of why the noses were chopped off of the statues. This is from ancient Egyptian statues. There are many lives and deaths. Okay. This is by Simon Connor, PhD, Art History and Archaeology, University Library de Brussels, Belgium, 2014. She's worked in various archaeological sites in Egypt, Luxor, Dashur, Tanis, and Heliopolis. Curator of the Museo Egidio, that's the Egyptian Museum in Italy, in Turin. Andrew W. Mellon, Research Fellow, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, Research Fellow at the University of Liège. Okay. I want you to listen to what she said. Okay? I want you to listen to the text. In some cases, they're talking about the statues. Mutilations of statues mostly affect specific body areas, making them likely to be the most significant regarding their agency to the ancient Egyptians. The uraeus snake that stands at the forehead of the sovereign is an almost systematic target. So stop. What that means is, he said they only knock off the nose. We've just documented that they do not only just knock off the nose, they also knock off the snake, the uraeus, at the top of the crown. So let's move forward. And they do it systematically. As the sun's eye, the cobra goddess ready to spit her venom is the epitome of the dangerous and protective aspect of the burning day star. The destruction of this part of the statue is so recurrent among the whole Egyptian repertoire that it seems to have been an absolutely necessary condition for the deactivation of the statue. So they had, in order to deactivate the statue, that presumes that, or infers, or implies rather, that the prevailing perspective was that the statues were activated. So they had to be decommissioned or deactivated. To do that, you had to destroy certain parts of the statue that gave it agency. I'm not reading, I'm just talking right now. Back to the text. Whatever its motive, in other words, whatever its motive for deactivating the statue, Damnation Memoriae. Now, most of you do not know what Damnation Memoriae is. Okay? Let me tell you what Damnation Memoriae is. And this is what black people don't understand. Okay? Here we go again. Incorrect. They take off the nose because they don't want you to know slavery isn't your history. That's wrong both ways. That's wrong twice over. Because one, slavery is an essential part of our history. When we sat on the throne in Kemet, we had slaves. Okay? Take my course, Black Masters, White Slaves, where I document that black native people of Kemet enslaved white people in Kemet. Take the course. Now, and the other way that you're incorrect with that statement is that that is not why the noses were knocked off. That's just repeating what Katt Williams was saying. The reason that the noses were knocked off had nothing to do with race. It had to do with a belief of the people, of the natives. If you don't know what they believed, then anybody can just tell you anything. And it'll make you feel good about yourself. Remember what I said earlier about when they put something in the book or somebody gives you a historical precedent to make you feel good about yourself, you're going to run with it whether it's wrong or right. Or that makes you feel good about yourself. So when we think about them knocking off the noses because the noses were big and it showed our race, it makes us feel good about ourselves. Because it's a declaration that our presence was something to really hide. And don't get me wrong, our presence in Kemet was something for them to hide. And they still work overtime at hiding it to this day. But everything in perspective, you got to always document your perspective. This is history. This is not street corner talk. This is not, oh, I'm just talking because I feel like I know something. That's not what this channel is. Go to another channel with that. If you can't document it in my presence, don't say it. That's the rule. I live by it. If I can't document it, I won't say it. I started this whole thing off documenting. When I started about IQ, I documented what I was saying. I didn't just come on talking because I'm Shakka-Ahmose because I said it. No, that's not how scholarship works. You got to put up or shut up. If you're not going to show receipts, shut the up. Period. Receipts. Yes, this is the correct answer. Yes, they tried to stop the statue from having life by breathing. That is correct. Because in their world, those statues were alive. If you studied Kemet long enough, you would know that. To them, the statues were alive. Not in the way that we think that they would think the statues are alive, but that the essence of the essence of the essence of the spirit of the person, because its form was there and the essence was familiar with the form. The essence is going to pursue the form no matter where the form is, whether it's corporeal or if it's made out of limestone. The essence ain't going to make no difference. The essence only recognizes the form. So to the essence, the statue is alive. And if this is a part of your belief system, you ain't going to play with one of these statues. These statues are not a joke to you. These statues represent true authority. You got to remember, you're talking about a society where if you disrespected a statue or you debased a statue, you and your whole family were killed, executed on the spot. On the spot. Now, if you know that, walking around that society, what kind of reverence are you going to have for these statues? These statues are a matter of life and death. A statue could be commissioned with an offering of the king in the suit de hotep, an offering of the king. That statue in turn could become to them what an ATM is to us. You could go to that statue and based on what was invested in that statue, you could receive wealth. You could receive provisions and wealth from the caretakers of that statue based on what was invested in that statue by virtue of the king. This is culture. If you don't know the culture, stay out of the conversation and keep talking about aliens. That's it. Let's go. And thank you, George, for that correct answer. Here we go. Here we go. And here we go. Oh, I was going to explain to you Damnation Memoriae. Damnation Memoriae is basically what happened to black people. And it's so crazy because black folks are the only ones that don't know about it. I know I'm still sharing my screen. Isn't that crazy? Black folks are the only ones that don't know that they have been subjected, we have been subjected to Damnation Memoriae. Damnation Memoriae means that your memory in the eyes of the world or the memory of you is canceled out. That is how you truly kill someone. You cannot kill someone if they are still remembered, because the memory of them in the hearts of the living keeps them alive. So in the ancient world, especially the Romans, but the Romans got it from the people of Kemet. In the ancient world, when you truly wanted to kill someone, you had to kill their memory. And that is why people today who are not black, this is one of the reasons why they believe that the ancient Egyptians, so-called, were not black. Because the memory of that truth was stamped out. The memory of that fact and of that history literally was suppressed almost to the point of absolute. Why? because the education system throughout the West was founded on slavery. Right? The subjection of the black race. Part of what came with that package was a mythological history of the black race as a race that had never had a civilization, a race that had never done anything in the world, a race that was subhuman. That was the mythology that they had to put in place through their education system at the foundation. At the foundation. If you're reading Locke, if you're reading Descartes, if you're reading all of the European philosophers that philosophy students and sociology students and other cultural anthropology students, all these students, even cultural economics students or people at the London University of Economics, they've had to study these men. They've had to study Locke. They've had to study Descartes. They've had to study Hume. They've had to study. These are the white intelligentsia of the turn of the century that gave white people their foundational thought. These are their elite thinkers. And in their writings are perspectives about black people that make us less than human, that make us almost subhuman, intellectually speaking. Yes. And those thoughts are still being taught today. And black people haven't lifted a finger to counter it and stop it. You rather pay money to go to the university where they're teaching that you are subhuman from their intellectual history. You rather go and bust your ass to go to that university, to marry into that society, to procreate with that society so that you could unblack yourself through time. As Dr. John Henry Clark used to say, you are a shame to the skin that you wear. Yes. Apples, anyone? Fuji apples, organic. Cashew, walnut, honey, and cinnamon, butter. Nothing else like it on the planet. How y'all doing? Let's go. Damnation Memoriae. Rome really put it on us. With Damnation Memoriae. Woo! Woo! Sorry. Damnation Memoriae. Rome really put it on us. They made sure. Yep. The Hagia Sophia in Eastern Rome, in Byzantium. That's where they did real switcheroo with all the records and changed a lot of shit. A lot of stuff. Yep. But they damned our memory. Literally damned it. Yep. So you can't be angry and upset with white people when ancient Egypt was not black. The ancient Egyptians were not black. They don't know. In fact, they did such a mind job on these people. These people can literally look at black people on the walls, look right at them and say, they're not black. That's deep. That's deep. But what they really mean is, the reason why they say the ancient Egyptians were not black, and I use that term loosely, just so you understand what I'm, because that's what they say. I don't use the word Egypt. to talk about Kemet. But the reason they say the ancient Egyptians are black has nothing to do with color. It's because those people are shown with dignity, self-respect, divinity, and there's no way that black people could be shown that way in a classical period of history. That's what they're thinking. So they have an inherent psychological class bias that will not allow them to see the people of Kemet as black people. Yes. But that's a form of Damnation Memoriae. It is. It certainly is. I just wanted to cover that Damnation Memoriae before we just moved on from, because I always wanted to actually do something on that, a presentation on just Damnation Memoriae alone, so people could understand how serious it is. I'm gonna come here, hang out down here, right? So where are we? Okay. Let's read this part again. The destruction of this part of the statue is so recurrent among the holy Egyptian repertoire that it seems to have been an absolutely necessary condition for the deactivation of the statue. Whatever its motive, Damnation Memoriae, looting, dismantling of the monument to provide building blocks, and so on. In many cases, the uraeus is not only smashed out, but also literally removed from the surface of the statue. On the Sphinx of Hatshepsut, Metropolitan Museum of Art, which is a few blocks from where I live, the careful hammering of the snake's sinuous tail over its entire length has left a visible scar. A considerable investment in time and effort was devoted to this action. Seeing the hardness of the granite out of which this statue was carved. Okay. Mutilation of the ear. Listen, remember Katt Williams said they don't do the ears? How come they don't do the eyes? Well, listen. Mutilation of the ears, eyes, and mouth is less common. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It's just less common. However, the nose is almost an unconditional target. As a salient part, it is easier to damage than an eye would be. But as the organ of breath, it is indispensable for the statue, as for the represented individual to live. Just like the brother said earlier, the nose is destroyed so that the statue can no longer breathe. Page 141. Depriving, now, he said, how come they don't destroy the chin? How come they don't destroy the ear? Right? Here you have the chin destroyed. The beard is removed. The nose is removed, and the serpent is removed. The reason these three are removed is because these are symbols of power, agency. The serpent, the nose, and the beard. They're symbols of agency, meaning that, y'all didn't notice the panther, right? The agency. Let's continue. Oh, depriving the image of its nose means taking away all life and transforming it into an inanimate object. This act is not necessarily addressed to the depicted entity, but transforms the inhabited statue back into a mere block of stone. So that is how they, when you have a ship, there's certain things that you break on a ship to decommission it. The same thing is no less true for these statues. And you also have to consider the reason why they do that on ships, and the reason that these things occurred in Kemet is because Kemet itself was a maritime nation. So if you really want to use the language of Kemet, you have to use maritime language and think of maritime customs. This is from the process of cursing in ancient Egypt, from the papyrus Bremerine. This is from the Rhine papyrus, passage 6. The process of cursing in ancient Egypt. This is a PhD thesis. It was submitted in accordance with the requirements of the University of Liverpool for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy by Sarah Louise College, September 2015. I want you to listen to this, okay? Focused attacks are evident on Sinmut's face, hands, elbow, and waistband. Did you hear that? Not just the nose. The face, the hands, elbow, and waistband. at the chamber entrance of the false door. But in many cases, the damage is light enough to allow the features to be distinguished. Simbat's images on the south wall have all escaped attack. So this was not a methodical attack. This tomb was left nowhere near completion. So would not have been accessible by visitors. The scope for public degradation was limited, making a thorough attack unnecessary. Damnation Memoriae was most effective when there was an audience. So the more public the statue, the more damage there would have been to it. That's what she's telling you. Because that's Damnation Memoriae only matters based on what the public can see. And also what they can't see, depending on what your goal is. This process was used against those who were to be publicly degraded or disassociated from honor, or when complete erasure of the target was desired. So there's different levels of Damnation Memoriae. That's the point with that. The act of corpse mutilation entailed attacks on certain areas of the body. An attack on a skull or vertebrae, repeatedly seen in the form of violent cuts in the Hidden cemetery, could render a body immobile. The attackers considered the corpses to be a threat, so took the same action as would be taken against a living enemy. Attacks on the attacks on the pelvis, legs, and feet seen in graves number 138 and 280 at Gerza emphasized the fear of corpse animation. So stop. What is she talking about? Because this is important. Okay, so we need to cover this. This is really important. We always say that Jesus was based on Osiris. Well, if Jesus is based on Osiris, what is the most important feature of Jesus to Christians? Resurrection. So if we claim that Jesus is based on Osiris, then what is the most important aspect of Osiris? Asar. Resurrection. If the most important aspect of Asar is resurrection, then that means that the people of Kemet believed that resurrection was real, that a corpse could reanimate after it died. They really believed this. And the only way to stop a corpse from reanimating was to hack it to pieces. But not just in any specific areas, or not just rather in any random areas. They had to do it in specific areas. So that if life came back into the corpse after it was deceased, by hacking it up, you could ensure that even if it came back to life, it could not use the agency of its body. People talk about Kemet, but they never talk about what the people of Kemet believed, which I find strange. Attacks on the pelvis, legs, and feet seen in graves 138 and 280 at Gerza emphasized the fear of corpse animation. The living took direct action against the threat of the dead by mutilating their bodies in a manner which would disable a living person. Corpse mutilation mirrors an element seen in execration figures and Damnation Memoriae, subjugation via a physical attack. However, rather than using created representations or existing images to achieve this, pre-dynastic Egyptians used the actual bodies of their targets. The aim of corpse mutilation was not to destroy the body, but to disable it, to render it powerless, and therefore prevent the reanimation of the dead. Now, why is that important? Because what that tells you is that when we tell you that Christianity copied from Kemet, that's proof 101, right? That's evidence right there. Why is it evidence? Christians claim to believe in resurrection. Christians claim to believe in a physical resurrection. They believe this. So they say, well, if they believe it, why don't they interact with the dead the way that the ancient Egyptians did, or the people of Kemet? Why? Because the people of Kemet truly believed it. They were the true believers in resurrection. They believed it so strongly that they would attack the dead bodies so that the dead bodies could not come back to life and have agency to harm someone. So who really believed in resurrection? You understand? Christians, they have a funeral, walk away, and leave it as done. They just go back to their fairy tale, fantasy, Bible book or whatever, and be like, Jesus take care of it. They're done now. That's not a belief in resurrection. You don't put your money where but then again, they probably think that Jesus is going to come back somewhere down the line, and that's when everybody's going to, I don't know. They got so many stuff that, anyway, let's continue. But this is important to understand why they do to these statues what they do. Joe Rogan ain't going to show you none of this. He's going to talk about aliens. The aim of corpse mutilation was not to destroy the body, but to disable it, to render it powerless and therefore prevent reanimation of the dead. Now, how do we know this is true? Hold on, because they're going to say, Shaka, that's what the white people are saying, and you believe it. Right? Well, how about we go to a primary source? Okay, let's do that. We're going to go to a primary source. Okay? Let's do that. Present. Share screen. We're going to go to a primary source. So we're going to let the people of Kemet tell you themselves why they cut the nose off. Okay? Where am I? Here we go. Current page. Okay. This is a primary source, people. Pardon me 1 second. In fact, you know what? Yeah, just give me 1 sec. Hold on. Okay. Here we go. Just want to reposition myself. Thank you very much. So I'm going to be here for a minute. I just want to get comfortable. Thank you. Oh, that's so much better. Okay. Now, where are we? Here we go. So now we're going to let the people talk for themselves. This is, drum roll, passage 6, the first book of Felling Apophis, the enemy of Re. Okay, we're reading from, and this is the papyrus right here, from 305 BCE. It's in the British Museum. Here's the facsimile of it here. Okay. This is what is said in the papyrus. It's called the process. It's from the book, The Process of Cursing in Ancient Egypt, page 275. Okay. It says, Mejat, Tepnet Seher, Yap Zefti Nuwe. The first book of Felling Apophis, enemy of Re. Jed Medu Seker Herek Apep Zefti Pefnure. Recitation. What do they say? Fall on your face, Apophis. Apophis is the enemy of Re, the dragon, the serpent, the big serpent, right? It says, fall on your face, Apophis, that enemy of Re. Him haek zeri. Turn your back, foe. Sebi yuti awif yuti. Ijuif. Rebel who has no rebel who has no arms or legs. Why? Because he's a serpent. Okay? Your nose is cut off from your face. Do you see that? Your nose. Somebody called Joe Rogan, or I'm sorry, Katt Williams, and tell him this was a custom amongst the people. It's in their text. They acted out with their enemies on earth what they felt should happen to the enemies of Ra. And the enemy, and anyone who disagreed with whoever was in power was an enemy of Ra. Even if you were formerly in power, when your successor came, he would destroy your statue by cutting the nose off the statue because he did not agree with your policy or you were enemies, whatever it was. But he wanted you to be remembered as an enemy of Ra. So just as in the text, your nose is cut off from your face. That is a primary source. Now, like that, here, oh, I did save it. This is Billy. You can see his family, they ain't black. That's Billy. He's the same one that said, I like Katt. 1,000% wrong on why the noses were removed of the statues of Egypt. Completely wrong. Now, if Katt Williams is right, you got to explain why these noses are broken. These are Romans. You want us to think that these are black people too? This is what I mean when I say you make the rest of us look like we're stupid, like we don't know what we're talking about. You run around on these platforms and you want to talk authoritatively about things you don't know anything about. And it makes us look stupid. Why? Because we are all judged by what each one of us does. It's just, it comes with the territory. It comes with the territory. Like when I was growing up, my mother used to always say, always remember when you leave the house, wherever you go in this world, you're representing your family, your community. Behave like it. And if you weren't taught that growing up, I feel bad for you because you grew up in the wrong household. But look at this. There's a young white boy sitting around his table. I don't know him. I never met him. I just went to his YouTube channel because I said, I know how this works. White folks are watching us on social media. They read articles that tell people we have low IQs. And then when we claim to be talking about our own history, we can't even get our own facts straight about our own history. Why should other people respect us if we don't respect our own history enough to learn it accurately? And the thing about history is that it's not like it's an exact science where measurement has to be accurate all the way through. Because even in exact sciences, measurements are not 100%. But this is something that doesn't require that type of accuracy, and you still can't get it right. That's not cool. Do you see these noses, people? Are you telling me they knocked off the noses because these are niggas? Because these are black people? This is Emperor Vespasian, first of the Flavian emperors in Italy. That's an Italian. Bust of a Roman nobleman. This is in the Brooklyn Museum in the same neighborhood I grew up in. I grew up next to two very famous museums, the Brooklyn Museum and the Metropolitan Museum of Art in Manhattan, which is the one I live next to now. And this is Germanicus Caesar, 1420 CE. They knocked off the noses. Why? Because they inherited the same belief from the people of Kemet. That's why. That's why. They inherited the same beliefs as the people of Kemet. This is from Why Are the Noses Broken on So Many Ancient Egyptian Statues from livescience.com. These statues have broken noses because many ancient Egyptians believed that statues had a life force And if an opposing power came across a statue it wanted to disable, the best way to do that was to break off the statue's nose, said Adela Oppenheim, a curator at the Department of Egyptian Art of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, which is a few blocks from where I live. How were the Egyptian pyramids built? Oh, that must have been another link in the article. Granted, the ancient Egyptians didn't actually think that statues, now listen, this is important. The ancient Egyptians did not actually think that statues, even with their life force, could get up and move around, given that they were made out of stone, metal, or wood. Nor did Egyptians think that the statues were literally breathing. They knew that they were not inhaling air. They could see that, Oppenheim told Live Science. On the other hand, the statues have a life force, and the life force comes through the nose, what we call the Ka. That's how you breathe. Okay? It was common to perform ceremonies on statues, including the opening of the mouth ritual. Now, for those of you who know Kemetic culture, the opening of the mouth ritual is a highly important ritual, and they perform that ritual on statues. We know it as them performing it on dead bodies at funerals, but they also performed it on statues, in which the statue was anointed or became Christ with oils and had different objects held up to it, which were believed to enliven it, Oppenheim said. This ritual gave the statue a kind of life and power, Oppenheim said. The belief that statues had a life force was so widespread that it spurred antagonists to extinguish that life force when the need arose. For example, people taking apart, repurposing, robbing, or desecrating temples, tombs, and other sacred sites would have likely believed that statues had life forces that could in some way harm intruders. People would even believe this about hieroglyphs or other images of animals or people. You basically have to kill it. And one way to do that was to cut off the nose of the statue or image so that it could not breathe, Oppenheim said. However, sometimes adversaries didn't stop at just the nose. Some also smashed or damaged the face, arms, and legs to deactivate the life force. This is why I said Katt Williams was wrong, because they did not just attack the nose. You can see he's got a whole lower jaw missing. And the one thing you have to understand about a lot of these breaks is they can tell if the break was made on purpose or if it was made by accident, by the thing getting damaged or falling. Because when it was made on purpose, it left certain types of tool marks. There are likely, and they tell you, there are likely some instances in which statues naturally tipped over and a protruding nose broke as a result. Erosion from the elements such as wind and rain also likely wore down some statue noses. But you can usually tell if a nose was destroyed intentionally by looking at the cut marks on the statue, Oppenheim said. For people looking to learn more, there's an exhibit of the Pulitzer Arts Foundation in St. Louis that explores how both pharaohs and early Christians vandalized Egyptian statues so that they could kill any life force within the representations. Now that's deep. Why? Because what that also means is that early Christians also thought that the statues had life, which is why they worshiped their statue of Christ even around their neck, which means that by wearing that chain around their neck with Christ hanging on the cross, they're still practicing an ancient Egyptian practice or an ancient practice of Kemet. Because they what? Believe the statue has life, even though they don't say it. We live in a culture that forces you to be dichotomous. Don't say what you believe and believe what you don't say. let's continue. Now, stop. I'm going to stop right here. Because now we get into another part that's going to be pretty deep. Stop sharing. I'm going to stop sharing. So, let me see what y'all talking about. Okay. Now you do. Now you do. Facts. Now you do. Cease from Kemet. Oh, that's a stupid question. I can't even answer that. Yes. So if the Jewish Talmud says that, Planeta, and checking it from the what the hell is the grifties? I'll be attending class on the replay. And when you do, I want you to hit me up, Lauren, and tell me what the grifties are. I would love to know. What the hell are the grifties? Okay. All right, but hold on. Then why did they destroy the noses on the Roman statues? See, this don't make sense. It got to make sense across the board for it to be true. So I got to reject that. If it was only the statues in Kemet, then I would agree with that. But it's not. It was a practice in the ancient world that started with Kemet. But with Kemet, it started because they believed that the statues had life in it, had a ka. If the person that the statue was made of had a ka, then the statue had to have a ka. That's the only reason you made a statue, so that the ka of the person could reside in the statue. You feel me? If I were the king of Kemet and I was going to war and I don't know the outcome of the war, I might fall in battle, but I don't want the enemy to take my ka. I have to leave my ka someplace when I go to war. Where am I going to leave my ka? In the statue. This is how it worked. The statue was a repository for the ka of the person who it was made for. That's why most statues were only made of important people. It wasn't just for anybody. Shout out to Mississippi. Now, I'm going to say something now. Remember I told you before, I said Katt Williams, even when he's wrong, he's right. So this is what you have to consider. The people of Kemet, ancient Egypt, they had a practice that disfigured this prominent feature of our face. This is a lesson for Black people. Do not practice amongst yourself things that outsiders can come in and practice the same thing, but for different reasons. You follow? Meaning, whereas we might have been doing it to kill the statue, to decommission it, they just benefited from it from a racial perspective. You understand? We destroyed evidence of ourselves. Oh, because you never heard of Black people being self-destructive amongst themselves. You never heard of that, right? We like to pretend that white people came in and brought us all of our problems. We had no problems before white people came. Okay? That's what we tell ourselves. And because of that, we don't bother to work on the things. Like the one thing I can tell you about black men, because I am one, and it really, really, really stands out to me. We are very egotistical. Don't get me wrong. Probably all men are. But I think with us, it's at a whole nother level. But the sad part is that even at that whole other level, it's still on some petty shit. Because I'm thinking, if our ego was really that big, we should be competing with the Elon Musks and Steve Jobs of the world and the Bill Gates of the world like it's nothing. In other words, that should be a regular occurrence. So I'm thinking that there might be another group that has a much larger ego. However, our ego comes into play when we deal with each other. When we deal with each other, that's when our ego goes off the charts. When we deal with other people, we as timid as a lamb. I watched that. A lot of people critique Katt Williams, rightfully so, about some things. You know, when he was on Joe Rogan, he was just about as agreeable as you could be. I mean, he just complete, you know. But people could say the same. I think people try to create that dichotomy about how Katt Williams was on the Joe Rogan show versus how he was on Willie D. He was very disrespectful to Willie D. Played very nice with Joe Rogan. However, I thought Katt was very respectful to Shannon Sharpe. So I don't think there's that much of a double standard there. If Katt Williams had tore his ass on both shows and then went to Joe Rogan's show and was real friendly, then I would say you have a point. But nah, he was respectful to Shannon Sharpe and he was respectful to Joe Rogan. So he was disrespectful across the board. He just didn't appreciate where Willie D was going with the interview, and he let it be known. That's it. He felt Willie had an agenda. I like them both. I respect them both. That's it. You know? Somebody get me Katt Williams' number or give me his email or something so I can give that brother a class. But you see what I'm saying about how that young boy left that comment on Katt's interview saying, Katt, you're wrong about the noses. I showed you the Roman statues with their noses missing. Because the statues were being decommissioned. Had nothing to do with race. So imagine if you were on a stage and you were having a debate and somebody pulled that up. You would be standing there looking stupid as fuck. And this is what I mean about protecting the black image from this accusation of having a low IQ. That's it. You ain't got to like it. What I'm saying is that I don't want us to be looking bad on your watch because you didn't do your homework and you really didn't know what you were talking about. Now, the part where I said that he may be somewhat correct, again, is if we are destroying the noses on our face to decommission ourselves or because we practice Damnation Memoriae, and we did amongst each other, the elites and the rulers of Kemet, they would destroy each other's statues like it was nothing. Right? But here's the problem. When we are engaging in practices that other people can come in and take advantage of to our detriment, we only got ourselves to blame. That's why we have to watch our practices and behavior with one another very carefully. We have to. We have to. Very important. We have to. I see you over there staring at me. He over there staring at me. I got a little tiny drop in there. But I got a whole jug in the fridge. Right? So let me jump back in the chat with my peoples. Let me jump back in the chats. Here we go. All right. Oops. That's what's up, Alexander. Absolutely. Get it. Absolutely. Oh, by the way, if I have any Kickstarter experts out there, Kickstarter, GoFundMe, Indiegogo, crowdfunding, because I'm getting ready to start the official crowdfunding phase of the Kemetville project. So if I have any experts out there who can help guide me through, have a sit down with me, show me the process, please hit me up. All of my contacts are in the description. It would really mean a lot to me. I'm already looking at certain individuals online. It would be pretty cool if I could scoop somebody right out of my own audience reservoir, because you already know what I'm about, you know what I do, so on and so on. That would be pretty cool. So if there's anybody that knows anything about seriously, that you like real serious about it, so because Daddy got to put together some pennies so the court can handle its business. When I say the court, I'm talking about the court of the kingdom of Kemetville, so we can handle our business, and because that's exactly what it is, business. Okay, so okay, well, results. I'm very result oriented. Okay, absolutely. Yes, most people didn't know that they broke their noses too. Yes, absolutely. 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 You're more than welcome. Absolutely. Decommission of the Sphinx related to present condition about people? That's a good question. Was the decommissioning of the Sphinx related to the present condition of our people? Well, it all depends on who you ask. If you talk to Vivant Denon, who made the painting of the Hood of Maquette when he was in Egypt before it was dug up from under the sand, he might give you one rendition. If you speak to others, I forget which historian it was that told them the story of Napoleon shooting off the nose. Some people say this is a legend. I don't know. The origin of the 21 gun salute, I don't know. Only because I never made it. It was never a priority for me to ascertain, because missing noses on statues are such a prominent practice in Kemet that I just accept it as an extension of that practice. Does it have anything to do with the subjugation of our people? Now that we're talking about what we're talking about, I would not dismiss that. I'll put it like that. I would not dismiss that idea. I would not reject it. By the way, there's literally no proof of those people even existing. So it's essentially a statue with nose knocked off for you to see. Okay. Okay. Oh, So the goal is we want to bring Kemetville correct. We had a meeting last week, and I don't know if I should be talking about this right now, but why not? We had a meeting last week, 2 meetings, in fact. We had to work out the numbers. Let's just say that when I did the short film, and even with the trailer for the web series, the standard of team that I had was not really where I'm looking to go. Where I'm looking to go is I'm looking to really deliver. And so when people see this web series, it has to be taken very seriously from the start. And so the quality of team that I put together now it's on a much more serious level. So the types of monies that I am raising, it's relatively serious. There is a perfect number that I'd like to reach with the crowdfunding for Kemetville, and then there's a number that I'm willing to accept. So the perfect number is $30,000. $30,000 is what I'm looking to raise. People have gone on Kickstarter and GoFundMe, and they've raised far more money than that for bullshit. So being that this is really something for the community, and when I say the community, our global community, is something for the community that we owe ourselves. And so if it's just that simple. My job is to convince people to my job is to convince people that we owe ourselves, right? God of this world. That's my job, to convince people that we owe this to ourselves. How can we point the finger at white Hollywood, but Jewish Hollywood, anybody, Black Hollywood? How can we point our finger and say that how can we point our finger and say, you won't give us a movie on Kemet that's Black? It's not their job to do that. It's our job to do that. And if we don't respect ourselves enough to do it, and do it at a level that they don't think we can, then maybe we are not who we say we are. Right? In my mind, I keep hearing this Arab voice over and over again. And the Arab voice is saying, you think you built the pyramids? You can't even produce a web series. So I always know that they believe in what we can't do. That's what these people think about us, right? They take advantage of the creations that people that look like us created, but they turn around and denigrate us and say that we are the cannot doers. So I'm simply moving forward with the team that I've assembled, and it's a high-powered team, but it's not a cheap team. They believe in the idea. They strongly believe in the idea, but it's a team whose name is going to be affiliated with it, so it has to be done at a certain level. So we worked out the numbers, the amount of, we want to do a season worth of shows for the web series, and we had to work out the logistics of all of that. When are we going to shoot? How many days, what days, for what duration, all of that. A lot. I'm talking about 5-hour meetings where I left exhausted. Like where I couldn't move the next day because I was so exhausted from the meeting. So that's what's going on. In fact, when I get off of this, which I'm about to, because the next part of this presentation, which is tomorrow, we get to the Damon Dash part. And that's where it's going to get, at least for me, it's going to get really good. I'm excited about that part because these are things that matter to me. When Black people of notoriety speak about things that we should be interested in, it's an opportunity for us to remove a little more darkness, shed some light, and take advantage of it. You know, you don't leave that on the table. We leave too many things on the table and then give people the right to call us low IQ. Well, yeah, you're going to be a low IQ if nobody from amongst your ranks comes and correct shit and say, hey, no, brother, I love you, but that's wrong. Brother, I hear you, but that's incorrect. Brother, you know, but that's no, I hear you, but that's wrong. In other words, if you want to pick a battle about proving Kemet was black, be careful about the hill that you choose to die on when you're doing it. There are better hills to die on than, oh, they broke off the noses because the noses look too black. Because then you got to deal with the fact that the people of Kemet themselves were destroying the faces and the noses, and it's in their text. They give you the rationale. It's in their text. I just showed you one text. It's in other texts where they talk about the cutting off of the nose. So our responsibility is to know if we're going to claim the culture, we don't have the luxury of being wrong about the culture, because then it makes us look fugazi. It makes us look less than worthy to represent the culture. So when you open your mouth about the culture, make sure that what's coming out your mouth is legit. Remember the old saying, too legit to quit? That's what I'm talking about. Too legit to quit. Period. You heard? Too legit to quit. I'm going to go do some push-ups. Tired of hanging out with y'all. No, I'm just joking. But I really am going to go do some push-ups. So, with that said, people, I'm going to cut tonight short because tomorrow I want to get some rest so I can really be rested for the Damon Dash presentation I'm going to give tomorrow. So somebody contact Damon Dash and tell him to watch the platform tomorrow. Come on, y'all can do that. Somebody do that. Damon Dash, Shakka-Ahmose is going to do a presentation about you tomorrow. You need to watch it. Okay? And the same thing with Damon Dash. Even when he's wrong, he's still right about certain things in his statement. And I find that to be so interesting. But that's how brilliant these brothers are. Katt, Williams, and Damon Dash. Even though their statements that they make are inaccurate about Kemet, Egypt, even though their statements are wrong and inaccurate and ahistorical, when you really do the due diligence, you see that the essential spirit of what they're saying is correct. It's correct. Because what happens in Kemet when racist people do come in and they do want to remove the noses from the statues because of race, we can't say shit because we had a tradition of destroying the noses first. This is what I mean about we have to be careful what we practice, because we will practice harmful things against one another that other people will come in. The Bloods and the Crips. You don't think somebody came in and took advantage of that? CIA? Africa, warfare. The slave trade. We had things that we were practicing amongst ourselves that outsiders came in and took advantage of. It's that simple, which means at the end of the day, you can't beef at the outsider. You got to look at your own practices. Accountability and responsibility. That's where true power lies. So if black people want true power, we got to take responsibility and be held accountable for the things that happen to us. And that includes slavery. That includes destroying the statues in Kemet. That includes all of that. I'm not saying other people didn't participate and benefit from the bullshit we were doing to one another, but we have to remember that's the name of the game. They benefited from shit we were doing to one another. So we have to remember, as much as we might dislike one of us, as much as we might want to dispatch that person from the earth, as much as we might have the disposal at our means to do something bad to one of us, don't do it. Because somebody else is going to benefit from it that don't look like us. And That should only be important in a world where people are judged by how they look. And that is the world we live in. That is the truth. Real people don't hate real shit. I just said some real shit. And I'll say it again. Real people don't hate real shit. So tomorrow, I think I'm going to come on twice. Don't quote me on this. One is going to be to respond to comments. And then the other one is to do part 5 of this, which is the Damon Dash section, which is going to be dope. I can tell you that right now. It's going to be dope. So I'm just letting y'all know it's going to be dope. So with that, thank you for spending this evening with me and for letting me get part 5 off. I will be here tomorrow. Okay. I don't know. This is true. Very true. Very true. Wait until I'm teaching my Kemet course. Yes. Crowdfunding, Kickstarter, GoFundMe. I got to raise $30,000. I got a web series to produce. It's that simple. I got a web series to produce. And I think we deserve it. We've waited all these years. It's not Hollywood or Walt Disney's responsibility to give that to us. I think we'll appreciate it more when we say we did it and do it at the level. That's the key thing. Do it at the level that we are capable of doing it. Y'all don't even know who I got working with me on this. I got a dope team, and there's someone who's part of the Kemetville family who just really, really loves what I do. When I said I was on air the other day and I said, hey, I'm looking for a production company. He contacted me literally the same night when I got off of the camera. And he was like, you'll call this number tomorrow. And he's waiting to hear from you. And this is somebody that I really, really, really want to work with because of the quality we will be able to deliver in the web series. And that's what I care about more than anything else. You know, because people are going to be looking for us to fail. And I tell that to everybody. That should be the first thing you think about when you wake up in the morning. When you're working on a project, somebody somewhere is waiting for you to fail, hoping that you fail, praying for you to fail. For that very reason, you should give everything to succeeding. Everything. Yes. Absolutely. So, Meru, Uncle Jasaneb, Hotep, I love you all. It's nice not to be on here for 4 hours tonight like I normally am. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll be on here for like 4. How long have I been on here? Almost 4 hours, 3 hours and 14 minutes. But that's cool. But it's nice that if I am going to be on for 4 hours, that I'm off at a decent time. And that really matters. Because y'all know me, I used to do this and go till the sun comes up. And y'all will be right here with me, crazy people. Y'all will be right here with me. Yes, y'all would. We got an incoming message from someone.
We can't admit that all those wonderful things that we got from Egypt came from Black people. If you admit that, then you cannot continue to support the myth of white superiority. So we simply move Egypt into the Middle East so that we don't have to admit that we got all those wonderful things from Black people.
Wasn't me. All right, I'm going to give you all a little treat before I go.
What makes him think I'm supposed to come running every time he calls?
Watch out now. I'm the song that you've been singing. I'm the dream that you've been dreaming. I'm the thoughts that you've been thinking. Hold up now. Now before you start to judge me, won't you try first hard to love me? For there's nothing else above me. And as I stand here, I see all that I have given. I breathe life into the living. When I'm gone, am I forgiven? All my sins, I know I put you through a lot now, but my culture's all I got now. Every hand that wears the crown. Pharaoh, I live the life of Pharaoh. That's what they call me, that's what they call me. Pharaoh, I live the life of Pharaoh. Down these streets, yes, I walked them just like you did. I guess they thought that I was stupid, but here I am in all my glory and shine right through me. And you can see it from a distance, just like a star that shines and glistens. Found my way up in the sky and rain down on you. And watch you grow just like a flower. Now tell me, can you feel my power? Ain't even my finest moment, and you can't see me. I'm the one whose name is hidden. All the blessings I've been given, and I just wanna share with you. Pharaoh, I live the life of Pharaoh. That's what they call me, that's what they call me. Pharaoh, I live the life of Pharaoh. What they say, they try to tell me I was nothing. I said, let me tell you something. I'm the living image of Pharaoh, and y'all don't know me. Now watch me get down for my father. I know you're hard, but I bring it harder. I assert my right to rule and know my story. And maybe then you'll know my purpose and tell them all just where you heard it. It was written on the wall and take my vengeance. I ain't holding back for no one. Don't need your story, got my own one. Tell my future generations. Pharaoh, I live the life of Pharaoh. That's what they call me, that's what they call me. Pharaoh, I live the life of Pharaoh. Son born of the sun, son of the reason. One God rise, I will be down on earth as in heaven. Your representative, your sacred pyramid. Because of you, we live, you set and rise again. The sacred shining star and access to we are and always ever will be for eternity. And we came from your tears, you reign millions of years. Let those who listen hear a Pharaoh still is here. Pharaoh, I live the life of Pharaoh. That's what they call me, that's what they call me. Pharaoh, I live the life of Pharaoh.
Blast from the past. Hey, I love you back. That's why I show up. I love you back. That's why I show up. Uncle Johnson, please address the questions in the chat if you can. That's all I've been doing, addressing the questions in the chat. I don't have time to be dealing with people showing up late. Nah, ain't no stage big enough for me. Ain't no stage big enough for me. Absolutely. Thank you, Lavina. I appreciate that. Very much so. Very much so. Absolutely. I remember the first time I put that video out. Yeah, that's kind of old, I would say. That's like 2013, I think. 2013. Yeah, I think that's 2013. I think so. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hey, get that corporate paper while I'm fundraising for the web series. Okay. Absolutely. It's all about Kemetville now. Do it for the Ville. 1, 2, 3, everybody. Do it for the Ville. That's what's up. All right, folks. I just wanted to share that with you guys before I call it an early night. I really just, for some reason, I don't know why, I just want to go do some push-ups. It's just, I think because I was really out of it like 2 days ago, and my energy reservoir is just really like, I'm going to do something good for me. You know what I mean? For the Ville. I like that. Oh, I like that. For the Ville. I like that. That's what the t-shirt's going to say. For the Ville. That's what's up. I like that. Yeah, absolutely. Let me see, man. Yeah, I really didn't even know that music video was on here. I didn't know I had that queued up. So since I saw it, I just played it. But yeah. I think I took all of my music videos off of YouTube because I want to reproduce them. A lot of people really love the songs and they love the music. Pharaoh, I wouldn't reproduce. I would leave that like it is. But songs like Morning Star, Pyramid of Music, even the Ballad of a Saw in the Set, I do. All of those songs, I would redo the music videos for them. So that's why I took them off of YouTube, But I'll be putting them back. Right now, the focus is on Kemetville, though. For the Ville. Everything for the Ville. All right, guys. I'm out of here. Hotep, this is the last thing you're going to see. Woo. Come on, y'all know we serious with it. We ain't playing around here. You heard? We are not playing around here. All right, you guys, you go get some rest. Enjoy your night. Get some rest. We're going to be back here tomorrow. You are not going to want to miss the Damon Dash part. Trust me. All right? I'll be revisiting Katt Williams again because of his interview on Joe Rogan. He just said some more stuff that I had to address. So there's going to be more Katt Williams, but the Damon Dash part is going to be you really going to want to see this, because he said, and it's crazy because it seems like Katt Williams and Damon Dash Both have literally been going from interview to interview to interview talking about ancient Egypt and ancient Kemet. And I'm like, what's up? Like, where's all of this coming from? And if y'all really so serious about ancient Kemet, why y'all not linking with a brother like myself? But that y'all know the whole thing. If you ain't part of the celebrity crowd, blah, 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 blah. You know, they say nobody loves you until everybody loves you. And that's just the way it is. You know, nobody loves you until everybody loves you. But me, I remember those who loved me before everybody loved me. And that's y'all. So I love y'all back. Uncle Johnson Neb, Hotep. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay? Get your spirit right. Remember, all you have is right now. The future is not here. The past is past. You have right now. Be kind to yourself right now. Do not wait for someone else to be kind to you. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself the rest you need. Eat the foods that you need. Get the exercise that you need. But most importantly, think good things as you are going to sleep. I command you. Do not worry. Worrying does not change anything. Worrying does not fix anything. Taking action does, but you can only take action when you're well rested, well fed, well loved, and you got to love on you. Okay? So remember to laugh. Watch some stand-up comedy. That's what, I wish comedians would get back to being funny and stop trying to show the world how smart they are. Because, don't get me wrong, you have to be intelligent to be a comedian because comedy is all about wit. And the thing with comedians is that most of them are highly intelligent. So I can understand them wanting to be appreciated for that. But they have to remember, they've chosen a medium. You know what I mean? They've chosen a medium. So if that was the lane through which you wanted your intelligence to be known, stay in that lane. Although I'm a strong believer, I don't believe you should tell people to stay in the lane. Follow your heart. If your heart wants to be known as an intellectual, live your life. So, but with that, folks, I'm gone. Uncle Johnson Neb, I love you all. And that's just it. Question. Random question. What do you think? No, I don't think Michael Jackson was referring to that original love story. No, I don't. No. Because he did his video with Ramesses and Nefertiti. Actually, Ramesses and Nefertari. So, no, Michael was not referring to a song. I said Michael Jackson was very into Kemet. Very much so. But no, I don't think he was. Not at all. So, all right, Joe. As we say, if you want to say love you, that in Kemet, in the language of Kemet, they would say meru. So, meru, Uncle Justin. And if you want to say good night, get in the fair. Get in the fair. So, get in the fair. Good night. Absolutely.